The book automatically flipped open, revealing a card embedded in every page. These are the 537 card restraints that I've placed on that card. You are now allowed to use them. Go and grab that card right away. Yes. The man took the book and flew up into the air. But the card he used to communicate with her still hasn't lost its effect. The man called Greyhound spoke with a serious tone. Empress, I have to solemnly tell you, that card is very important to me. I hope you understand this. What does that have to do with me? I was just taking a walk in the desert when someone suddenly summoned me. I still don't understand why. The demon scorpion empress giggled. Greyhound went silent for a bit, then also smiled. I don't think you would interfere with my card refinement after all. This is my personal business, and you are a noble monarch. Of course, you take care of your black market. We'll live our lives here without worries. This is what we agreed on. That is indeed the case, Greyhound agreed. But your disciple has the natural arrogance of a card user. I feel like this will only make him more and more foolish, the demon scorpion empress continued. Interfering with your business will not bring any benefits to our abyss of sin, this is very clear, so you should have trusted me from the start, not that idiot who ruined everything. After a bit of silence, the other side sighed. It can't be helped, I have a few things to do, so I won't be able to return in time, so I had to let my disciple manage the black market for a bit. Who knew he would be so useless? Greyhound's tone was a bit irritated. He had already seen the tracking spells, so he knew that the demon scorpion empress was indeed summoned. Even the agreement between the two sides didn't have any problems. And just as she said, stopping me won't bring her any benefits. A person like the demon scorpion empress wouldn't even bother to look at you if there wasn't a huge benefit. That's why. The entire thing really was messed up by my useless disciple. How foolish. Card users have always been above many professions, but if they can't maintain their composure and humility, they'll sooner or later be stuck at the same spot due to their arrogance. This disciple of mine has always overestimated his own status. He needs to accept the harshest of scolding and use a clear mind to understand the truth and laws. Unfortunately, I'm still a few 100 million world layers away, unable to return in time. Whether it's scolding my disciple or finding that important card, I can't do anything right now. So even someone as calm as Greyhound was feeling a bit irritated right now. If my disciple has been rude, I apologize on his behalf, Greyhound said. The demon scorpion empress replied. It's fine, it's just a small matter. I just hope that you won't randomly summon me again. After all, I have a lot of things to do. Greyhound paused a bit, then spoke with a gentler tone. Don't worry, I've set up a few hundred restraining spells on that card. I'll definitely capture it and keep a close watch on it. It won't cause you any more trouble. That's good. The demon scorpion empress was pleased. Then we'll meet again. See you again. The card disappeared. All the spells disappeared as well. The demon scorpion empress silently stood there, seemingly in thought. A while later, she sighed softly and said, I can only help you this much. In the endless desert, Gu Qingshan was still running. Although nothing was chasing after him, he was still feeling tense. To be able to seal such a card, the other party must be incredibly powerful, perhaps even undefeatable. If this card was really that important, the other party wouldn't have only left behind a single method. At a certain point, Gu Qingshan's expression changed. The sense of urgency in his heart suddenly increased. A faint sense of death silently appeared in his spirit sense. Compared to other professions, it was incredibly difficult for a cultivator to face a tribulation and advance. But there was one good thing about being a cultivator. Their spirit sense was incredibly sharp, allowing them to predict vague situations in advance. Although Gu Qingshan's current location was quite far away from where the battle took place, Gu Qingshan faintly understood that this was only the beginning. Something is chasing after us. Gu Qingshan suddenly stopped. He tapped his inventory bag and took out the card. As soon as the card appeared, it turned into a white-clothed girl. Use the spell card to check if we're safe or not. Gu Qingshan told her. Not at all, the girl hurriedly answered. I've been put on a lot of restraining spells, there must be a tracking technique among them. Gu Qingshan took out the Blood Sea God Army card and asked, if I give this card to you, can you dispel those restraining and tracking techniques? Chapter 759. The Night Sky. The black-cloaked man was holding a book in his hand as he flew towards a certain direction. The book was open in front of him. A card was giving off an invisible presence that enveloped him. This card was carrying him as he flew. Until he caught up to the target, the card's power would only disappear. So right now, the black-cloaked man didn't need to do anything other than rest and recharge, waiting for the moment he caught up to the target to attack. Since the black-cloaked man didn't have anything to do, he casually flipped through the various cards in the book. A look of envy gradually appeared in his eyes. This is Guru's book of cards. All the cards in the book exist for the sake of restraining that unique card. Just by flipping through the description of the cards in the book, as well as the order in which the cards are placed and their corresponding combinations, I'm already inspired. When will I be able to reach Guru's level? That day shouldn't be too far away. After all, I'm the most outstanding student of this year. Even Guru couldn't help but admit that I'm quite talented with cards. The black-cloaked man sighed and began to imagine that day. At this point, the night sky was silent, the wind had stopped. On the card book, the tracking card burst out a bright light. This meant that I'm about to catch up to the target. The black-cloaked man immediately prepared for battle. In the next second, his whole body fell to the ground. Boom! Sand and rocks were blown everywhere. Gu Qingshan and the girl stopped. A black-cloaked man appeared from within the flying sand. Despite stalling for time, the other party still came. Since the other party has a way to track them, Gu Qingshan couldn't possibly waste all of her spirit energy on running away. If that's the case, the other party will eventually catch up to them, and Gu Qingshan won't have enough power to retaliate. Gu Qingshan thought of something. He took out the night rain and equipped a quiver of arrows on his back. Is that him? Gu Qingshan asked in a low voice. No, this is his disciple, the girl quickly answered. She was holding the Blood Sea God Army card in her hand as a blood-colored glow appeared around her body. She was communicating with Blood Sea, hoping to wash away her past identity and become a card that belonged to Blood Sea. Gu Qingshan relaxed a little when she heard that. He also felt that the person in front of him didn't seem to be so powerful that he couldn't be defeated. However, he was a true card master. This was an innately powerful profession. Not good. I can't beat the card master, so I can only buy you some time. Run! Gu Qingshan shouted. You actually don't have to do that for me. The girl bit her lip. He did not expect this person to be so kind-hearted. They had only met by chance, yet he was willing to sacrifice himself to block the enemy for him. With tears in her eyes, she quickly flew into the distance. Gu Qingshan blocked him and raised her hand to shoot. He immediately activated Flurry. The arrow was like an afterimage as it flew out in an arc. When the black-robed man saw this, he just smiled contemptuously. Curved arrow? Your archery skills are pretty good, but it's a pity that such a low-level profession is no match for me. A card appeared in his hand. On the card, a few shields with different lights were changing positions in a cycle. Finally, a blue shield appeared in the middle of the card. The card disappeared and quickly turned into a ball-shaped defensive barrier. Long-range attack barrier. This barrier has a 5x increase in long-range attack defense, but the corresponding decrease in spell and close-range defense. As soon as the barrier appeared, Gu Qingshan's arrows had already arrived. Ding 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 ding. The arrows rained down, but not a single one of them managed to pierce through the barrier. Pitiful archer, unless you're at least 3 times stronger than me, you wouldn't be able to break through this barrier. The black-robed man crossed his arms and purposefully sighed regretfully. His archery skills are quite good. Unfortunately, such archery skills are nothing in front of a card master. This was a natural profession suppression. Unless the opponent could advance from the most basic class of archer to a higher level, more special long-range attacker, it would be impossible to kill them. At this point, the outcome of the battle was already decided. The black-robed man took out a card. That's enough, this farce should end now. I need to quickly take that card and report to the guru. As he was thinking, he suddenly realized that the archer had dropped his longbow. I surrender, the archer shouted in despair. The black-robed man froze. TCH, so not only is his profession trash, but his character is also trash. If that's the case, I'll have a bit of fun killing him. Once he completely disarms himself and kneels down to beg for mercy, I'll kill him. In that case, his expression of despair and anger would definitely bring her joy. As for the special card that can escape, the black-robed man glanced at the card book in his hand. This is the Guru's book. All the spell cards that can restrain that special card are in here. She won't be able to escape. After thinking through everything, the black-robed man quickly made his decision. His tone softened. Surrender? That's a wise choice, but first, you need to throw down the quiver on your back as well. Hurry up! Got it, the archer took off the quiver and threw it on the ground. Such decisiveness made the black-robed man feel even more disdainful of him. But that's to be expected, the archer had no chance of winning against me. The black-robed man looked at the bow and quiver on the ground and relaxed a bit. Now, kneel, while ordering, he stared at the archer, wanting to enjoy the look of humiliation and despair on his face. Of course, to prevent the archer from doing anything desperate, he still held the card in his hand. The archer hesitated for a bit, puffed out his chest, and bravely declared, "A soldier can be killed, but not humiliated." The archer abruptly turned around and ran. As a long-range archer, he was quite agile, so his running speed was quite fast. But what good would that do? The black-robed man couldn't help but chuckle. He put away the defensive card from before, randomly took out a movement card, and threw it out. The card was activated. The black-robed man disappeared and reappeared right in front of the archer, perfectly blocking his path. The archer was shocked, but he couldn't stop his forward momentum right away, so he rolled a few times on the ground to stabilize himself. No more, no less, he just happened to be 10 feet away from the archer. "So this is a card user?" the archer muttered in shock. The black-robed man gracefully picked up a card in his hand and slowly spoke. "Of course, for a card user, movement within a small area is a simple matter. There's no need for them to be in such a sorry state like you," he sighed and said. "Pitiful archer, you can now choose whether to die or kneel." The archer sighed as well. The fearful expression on his face disappeared without a trace as he casually spoke. "You are a proud person, in truth, both arrogance and prejudice are dangerous in battle." Following this, the black-robed man suddenly felt a sense of unease. "But there's no one around, the archer's bow and arrows have already been disarmed, what kind of danger could there be?" The black-robed man couldn't help but draw a few more cards. However, a terrifying thing suddenly happened. He found himself unable to draw a card, unable to move at all. This seems to be some sort of controlling power. But where is the enemy? Damn it, I clearly have almost 100 cards, countless abilities and abilities that I haven't used yet. If I use my full strength, even this world will tremble. Who exactly is restraining me? With a deep sense of confusion and unwillingness, the black-robed man's entire world returned to darkness. At the very last moment, he seemed to see the archer wielding a sword, swinging it at him from afar. Poof! Blood sprayed everywhere, but was quickly blown away by the fierce wind created by the sword phantom. The corpse couldn't endure the power of the sword phantom and abruptly broke into pieces. The spherical barrier had the ability to block out long-range attacks, but it couldn't stop the sword at all. According to the card law, this attack was considered a close-range attack. Secret art, a life-seeker within 10 feet. A life-seeker, Gu Qing Shan didn't look at the corpse again. A person who treated a battle with contempt like this wasn't worthy of his attention. He only stared at the void of space in front of him. Chapter 760. Lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI. You've surpassed the limit of cultivation and killed a card user several times more powerful than yourself. You've obtained an excess amount of soul points. As this card user was a user of the Death deck, he was far more powerful than a normal card user. The total amount of soul points you should have received has been increased. In summary, from this card user's death, you've obtained a total of 100,000 plus 20,000 is equal to 120,000 soul points. Your remaining soul points is Guqing Shan. Looking at this huge amount of soul points, recalling the 1 million soul points required to upgrade War God skills, the excitement in his heart disappeared without a trace. The followers of the 7 gods were slowly lighting their tree of divinity. These followers will receive the method to advance to divinity. The new era has arrived. If I can't keep up, I'll be under the control of others more and more. Guqing Shan shook his head and looked at the book a few meters away from the corpse. The card book. Guqing Shan's mind moved. The card book flew into his hand. Death's Imprisonment Book. This card book contains a total of 537 binding cards, all of which are specific to a single unique card. Because you're not allowed to use this imprisonment card set, you cannot activate any of the cards in this book. Guqing Shan threw the Death's Imprisonment Book out. The 6 Paths Great Mountain sword flashed in the air and stabbed into the Death's Imprisonment Book. As if it was alive, the Death's Imprisonment Book uttered a shrill scream. But the 6 Paths Great Mountain sword was still holding it in place. No matter how much the book struggled, it wouldn't budge. Guqing Shan's gaze became sharp. Countless black sword phantoms erupted from the sword, circling around the card book to kill it. Bam! The Death's Imprisonment Book finally scattered into a translucent outer shell made of runes of various colors. The outer shell slowly dissipated into the void of space. This scene was very similar to when the big rooster broke through the blood sea barrier in a bull. All of a sudden, a black streak of light shot through the void of space at lightning speed and landed on Guqing Shan's arm. Guqing Shan quickly raised her hand to take a look. This was a twisted black rune that flickered briefly on Guqing Shan's arm before disappearing without a trace. Lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI. You killed a follower of the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper's law has marked you. Your offense against the faith of death has been made known to a high-ranking death priest. From now on, you must avoid the Holy Church of Death's area of activity, otherwise, you will be discovered and hunted down by the God of Death's divine envoy. Guqing Shan glanced at it and remained silent for a moment before asking, System, is there a way to remove this mark? Ding. The War God UI responded with a clear voice. In the infinite worlds, there will always be a way to solve your problem. Please search for it yourself. Guqing Shan relaxed a little. As long as there was a way. He walked to the corpse and searched it. After a while, he found a heavy black bag. Apostle of Death, card user, God's chosen spire high-ranking student, Kara's personal stash. To open this bag, you will need to grasp a profound space-opening secret art. Looking away from the War God UI, Guqing Shan decided to put this black bag away first. I'm so poor right now that I can't even take out a number 1 coin, so I'll have to think of a way to open this black bag. Among many professions, card users were the wealthiest. After organizing everything, Guqing Shan formed a hand seal. A primary flame kindling technique. Flames started to rise from the corpse, giving off a loud crackling sound. Very quickly, everything disappeared without a trace. Guqing Shan released his inner sight and looked around. There were no traces at all. At least within the range of his abilities, he couldn't find any traces left behind. He nodded in satisfaction, then leapt into the air and flew away. Following the direction in which the girl had escaped, he quickly found her traces in the desert. In truth, the battle didn't last very long. During the entire battle, Most of the time was used to numb the black-cloaked man. The real battle was only the final strike. The girl didn't manage to run very far. Gu Qingshan's figure flashed and appeared in front of her. When the young girl saw him, she immediately stopped in her tracks. "It's over," Gu Qingshan casually said. The girl looked at him blankly for a few moments. Then she started sobbing. While crying, she resolutely said, "You died to save me, please rest in peace, because I will fight that person to the death. I will not let them capture me again." Gu Qingshan. She thought I died in battle? While Gu Qingshan was thinking that, the girl was already praying for him with both hands clasped together. "O departed soul, please rest in peace. There is nothing in this world that can trouble you. You shall enter eternal peace." Gu Qingshan helplessly shrugged. "That's enough, I'm still alive." The girl froze. She stared blankly at Gu Qingshan, carefully observing his expression, then glanced at his shadow before hesitantly asking, "Are you a living person?" "Of course," Gu Qingshan answered. "Then, where's that bad guy?" the girl asked. "I killed him," Gu Qingshan answered. The girl blinked, looked at him from top to bottom and doubtfully asked, "Killed him? With just you?" Gu Qingshan was speechless. He suddenly felt like he owed this card something in his past life. But the girl wasn't a complete idiot. The girl closed her eyes, sensed herself, and exclaimed in joy, "All the restraints on my body are gone, I'm free!" She burst into tears of joy and cried loudly. Gu Qingshan stood there, waiting for her to calm down. A few moments later, the girl rubbed her reddened eyes, took out the Blood Sea God Army, and gave it to Gu Qingshan. "You don't need it?" Gu Qingshan received the card. The girl replied, "All the restraints on my card have disappeared, so I don't need to find another card deck to seek refuge." That's a good idea. I heard that if a card wants to leave the deck it belongs to, it must pay a heavy price, and if a single card wants to enter a deck, it will also have to go through layers of tests and pay a heavy price, Gu Qingshan said. "That's right," the girl sighed and nodded. "I was the same, because I decided to leave that card deck. I couldn't help but sleep for a very long time." A moment of silence. The girl abruptly covered her face and screamed, "Aarg, why do you want to know my secret?" Gu Qingshan helplessly replied, "Hey, get it straight, you're the one who said it." The girl didn't let it go. "I don't care, you bad guy, you must have done it on purpose." Gu Qingshan forcefully suppressed her emotions and said, "You have to be reasonable, I'm not a card user, I don't even know what's going on with you. Do you have a motive for asking about my past like that?" The girl sorrowfully asked. Gu Qingshan. Chapter 761. The Holy Church of Death. An ancient coin was flying back and forth between his fingers. His nimble fingers changed their motions and finally flicked it. Ting! The coin flew to the center of the large round table, but didn't fall down right away. Instead it continued to spin. Everyone in the solemn church's main hall held their breaths without saying a word. The coin was still spinning, attracting everyone's attention. After a while, a solemn voice came. This used to be one of the most important matters of the Holy Church, but after the appearance of the path to godhood, everyone temporarily forgot about it. The voice went silent. Still no one said anything. A black-robed man walked out and knelt down on one knee next to the round table. "My apologies, Pope, this was my oversight. I, Greyhan, hereby apologize to everyone," he said. Greyhan, one of the 8 cardinals of the Holy Church of Death. He used this gesture to admit his mistake. The atmosphere in the main hall became a bit more relaxed. With a bit of concern, the Pope spoke. "Greyhan, I heard that your disciple has died. My condolences." "He didn't do his job well. He deserved to die," Greyhan replied. "What do you intend to do next?" the Pope asked. "I will personally go and find the person who ruined the Holy Church's grand plan, then take back the card," Greyhan answered. "Personally? You've already lit your tree of divinity?" the Pope asked. "Still a bit off," Greyhan sighed. Everyone around couldn't help but whisper to each other. If Greyhan were to personally do this, he would have no choice but to give up on lighting his tree of divinity. This would be the same as giving up on the path to godhood, the most severe form of self-punishment. But who can he blame for this? In reality, if it weren't for the sake of lighting his tree of divinity, Greyhound wouldn't have left Drifting Sand World at all. If the path to godhood didn't appear, he would have stayed in that world and continued to protect that extremely important card. But now it's been confirmed that all methods to restrain that unique card have been destroyed. The Church's several thousand years of blood, sweat, and tears have all gone down the drain. Greyhound made such a huge mistake, so this was the punishment he deserved. The Pope silently listened to everything and sighed. He was very pleased with the current situation. Greyhand's abilities were quite commendable. Now was the perfect time to save Greyhand and gain the gratitude and loyalty of this powerful bishop. Thinking of this, the Pope said softly, "Summon the oracle." As soon as these 3 words came out, everyone present hurriedly got up and knelt on one knee. The Pope carefully took out a black metal box. He opened the box. Buzz! A heavy curtain of night was released from the box and quickly enveloped the entire hall. In the night, the oracle that the god of death had left behind for countless years resounded directly in everyone's hearts. The dark curtain of night only lasted for a breath of time before disappearing at an extremely fast speed. Everyone revealed a look of understanding. "Is everything clear?" the Pope asked. "Understood," a bishop replied. "Since the appearance of the path to God, believers of all levels must set the path to godhood as their primary goal. They must not go against it or deviate from it." The Pope looked at Greyhand and smiled. "The path to godhood is the path designated by God. We cannot go against it, so you should stay here for now. Wait until you light the tree of divinity." Greyhand immediately revealed a look of deep gratitude. If given a choice, who would be willing to give up their chance to become a god? Suddenly, a voice called out, "Your Grace the Pope, I object." Everyone turned to look, only to see that it was a bishop who usually didn't get along with Greyhand. He angrily spoke. After so many years of preparation, the Church finally grasped a rare chance to capture that card when she was at her weakest. But Greyhand ruined everything. Shouldn't he be punished? The Pope kindly replied, "The reason why Greyhand left Drifting Sand World was because he answered God's call and returned to light the tree of divinity, and the matter regarding that card was part of our Church's plan." Comparing the two, Greyhand obeying God's will and returning is the right thing to do. Perhaps God also believes that we shouldn't attempt to obtain that secret, so he ordered our devout Bishop Greyhand to return immediately. The bishop's lips twitched and spoke with an expression of unwillingness, but Greyhand is still. The Pope cut him off and said, "The path to godhood is the will of God. Do you believe that your opinion is more important than God's will?" At the end of his words, the Pope's tone became a bit cold. The bishop was surprised and hurriedly replied, I wouldn't dare." The Pope looked around. No one objected. This was a God's will, something that the death god himself arranged countless years ago. Who would dare to go against God's will? Under everyone's silent agreement, Greyhand slowly stood up and spoke gratefully. "Thank you, Your Holiness. No need to be so polite. The will of God is paramount. It cannot be disrespected," the Pope replied. At this point, the atmosphere in the hall slowly became relaxed. That's right, God had already arranged all of this countless years ago. How could God not notice the Church's intentions? Perhaps God really didn't want the Church to search for that card's secret. Everyone silently thought that. They couldn't help but look back at the round table. The spinning coin on the table slowly slowed down. If one's vision was good enough, they would be able to see the engravings on both sides of the coin as it spun. The front side of the coin depicted a sleeping girl. The young girl was surrounded by all kinds of complicated and mysterious patterns. These engravings protected the girl at the center of the coin. The reverse side of the coin depicted a chaotic mass that would cause one's heart to palpitate if they looked at it for too long. That's right, this was the third coin among the 1001 coins. Sleeping Maiden. If this hashtag 999th coin appeared in the real world, no one would be able to recognize its true name. Because only one of the top 3 coins were ever issued. And because this coin didn't even have the most basic information about the coin. This was one of the 3 most mysterious coins in the entire Strife zones. This coin didn't represent wealth. It represented a secret that couldn't even be measured by money. If Gu Qingshan was here, he would be surprised to find that the girl depicted on this coin looked exactly the same as the girl he saved. Unfortunately, he wouldn't be able to find out about this for a very long time. In the hall, the Pope's voice came again. Then, this matter has been decided. Grey Hand will stay and continue to light the Tree of Divinity according to the God's will. The rest of you will also do the same. Before lighting the Tree of Divinity, no one is allowed to leave. Immediately put up a high bounty on that person's head in the entire Strife zones. All believers should focus on becoming a god. Everything else can be put aside for now. Next, Anna is about to return. The path to godhood was opened by her and the Holy Church of Fate's Su Ku Air. This is the favor of the gods, as well as the greatest glory. Everyone, please discuss how we should reward her. Drifting Sand World. The Great Desert. A sand dune surrounded by layers upon layers of concealment formations. Gu Qingshan formed a hand seal. The sand and rocks parted to both sides. The blue ice crystal appeared in front of him and the white-clothed girl. Inside the ice crystal, a beautiful woman covered in blood had her eyes closed, seemingly on the verge of death, in a deep coma. Lord Class Combatant Yunji. This is the person you wanted me to save? The white-clothed girl asked. That's right, please take a look, Gu Qingshan replied. The white-clothed girl walked forward and knelt down in front of the blue ice crystal. Divine Power Frost Crystal. It's been a long time. The white-clothed girl lightly stroked the surface of the ice crystal and sighed emotionally. Gu Qingshan's eyebrows twitched a bit and hurriedly asked, You know about this? Then do you know the person who cast this technique? The girl shook her head. This divine technique is very old. There are quite a few divinities who know how to use it, so I can't tell for sure who it was. I'm going to try to heal her now. Don't say anything for now. Got it, Gu Qingshan replied. The girl continued to draw cards from the void of space. She stuck each card onto the surface of the ice crystal, then quickly put them away. Inside the ice crystal, Yunji's complexion was getting better. Her wounds were also showing signs of healing. Seeing that, Gu Qingshan was overjoyed. But the girl put all the cards away and stood up. I can't save her, Gu Qingshan froze. He encouraged her. You seem to have healed some of her wounds just now, don't lose heart, try again. The girl shook her head. The current me alone won't be able to do anything. She took out a book and drew a card from it. The girl stared at Gu Qingshan and sighed. Since you've saved me, I'll release my wisdom. The card scattered into a cluster of light and slowly entered the girl's body. The girl stood still. However, her entire temperament had changed. Her expression became solemn. Her every movement exuded a sense of dignity and holiness. The girl didn't say anything else and placed her hand on the ice crystal again. Show me your secret, divine technique, she whispered. Following the girl's actions, the ice crystal became unstable and began to shake intensely several times. Gu Qingshan was shocked to see this. If the ice crystal broke, Yunji would die without a doubt. But the girl was able to shake the ice crystal made from divine technique just by touching it. This meant that she had found some sort of method. For a while, Gu Qingshan wasn't sure if it was the right decision to bring the girl here. While he was feeling anxious, the girl had pulled her hand back and stood up again. She wiped the sweat off her forehead and told Gu Qingshan, The situation is very complicated, you have to carefully listen to what I'm going to say next. Gu Qingshan nodded. The girl continued, On the surface this seems like a single ice crystal, but there are actually more than one of these ice crystals. According to the divine power I sensed from the ice crystal, there are a total of 381 of them. Gu Qingshan went silent briefly. This was most likely the number of people that Lady Black Sea saved. The others had most likely died in battle or had their souls eaten by that monster. The girl continued, "These 381 pieces of divine power ice crystals form a circular structure. This structure forms a unique energy absorption tool. Similar to your cultivator's formation, this formation-like tool can absorb various types of power from the void of the strife zones to replenish itself. This way, the ice crystal can last for a very long time, and the people inside will also retain their last bit of vitality without dying, but that's where the problem lies. Unless you have the ability to heal these 381 heavily wounded people at once, all the ice crystals will be undone at the same time. Only then will these people awaken and come back to life." Gu Qingshan was a bit confused. "Why is that? Why can't I save them one by one?" The girl stared closely at the ice crystal with an expression of praise. In truth, this divine technique can be set to save them one by one, but the other party purposely made it so that they have to be saved at the same time. This is a deeper meaning. What deeper meaning? Gu Qingshan asked. Unless your power reaches an unimaginable level and is able to save everyone at once, even if you save them all, it would still be useless. It would be better to have these people temporarily hide and not be discovered. "I believe this is what the other party wanted to say," the girl replied. "How can you deduce so much? That doesn't make sense at all," Gu Qingshan refuted. Chapter 762. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit and asked, "Can you save all 300 people at once?" "I can't, my ability isn't specifically for healing, so I can't do that," the girl replied. Gu Qingshan's eyes lit up and asked, "In other words, there's actually a way to save them?" "Yes," the girl took out a book and gave it to Gu Qingshan. "The fastest way is to become a divinity. According to historical records, although the god of life was only a demon lord, he was quite proficient in healing. If you can grasp the highest level of life divine craft, you'll be able to save these people in one go." Gu Qingshan glanced at the book. It was written, "Summary of Life Divine Craft." Gu Qingshan couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Not too long ago, in order to find out how to safely travel through space, I temporarily became a follower of the Holy Church of Life. After learning the answer from the figure of light, I immediately gave up on being a follower. If I knew I still had to become a god, why would I give up on my faith so quickly? Now that I'm no longer a follower, I can't join the church for the rest of my life. What should I do now?" It wasn't just Yunji, Chen Wang was probably still alive as well. Chen Wang even helped me and Shifu a lot before. Big Bear, the mechanical arm, as well as Bali's other good friends, a lot of them are probably still alive. To be able to become friends with Bali, they're all good people and take good care of me. I really like them, but I've already cut off my path to godhood." Gu Qingshan held the book in her hand and felt a bit dejected. "Hey, I've already given you the method. You just need to work a bit harder and become a god as soon as possible to save them," the girl said. After saying that, her expression returned to normal. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit and told her honestly, "I probably won't be able to become a god." He quickly explained the reason to her. Unexpectedly, the girl only listened quietly, and in the end, she heaved a sigh of relief. "So you won't become a god, that's great. If you do, I'll have to quickly run away," the girl happily said. "Why not?" Gu Qingshan was surprised. "I hate gods," the girl wrinkled her nose. "Alright, then may I ask, is there any other way to save these people?" Gu Qingshan persistently asked. "But do you really want to save these people? You need to understand that with your strength, you will have to put in a lot of effort to achieve this. Are you saying that I must become stronger? It's even more powerful than stronger, far more powerful than most people in the 900 million world layers. Some people wouldn't even be able to achieve this in their entire lives. This is the path I want to take." The young girl listened quietly and couldn't help but look at Gu Qingshan with a hesitant expression. She seemed to be considering something important. "A very important question," the girl muttered. "Do you Hate card users? Gu Qingshan was startled. Although he found the question strange, he still replied, I don't hate it. What about the cards? What do you think a card is? The girl asked. A very special way of existence. Do you hate cards? Or rather, do you think that an existence like me is very strange? Not at all. There are too many unexplainable entities in the infinite worlds. Compared to them, you're actually quite cute. Gu Qingshan told him the truth. He recalled the Devil Kings and Fiend Kings. The Tianma were beautiful and alluring, the Azura weren't bad either. Other than these two kinds of fiends, the other fiends and devils were completely out of the realm of human beauty. Hearing his answer, the girl couldn't help but smile faintly, but quickly went back to normal. She sighed. If that's the case, if you really want to save these people, I know another way. Gu Qingshan was overjoyed. Please tell me that. That method is a bit troublesome, and if you want to use it, I'll have to work very hard. The girl sighed again. You'll have to work very hard? Gu Qingshan was surprised. That's right, for a rookie like you who doesn't know anything, if I use that method, I'll have to spend a lot of effort to take care of you. The girl was a bit troubled. Gu Qingshan clasped his fist. Please ask me to use that method, I'll be very grateful, I'll definitely repay you. How will you thank me? The girl asked. State your conditions, Gu Qingshan sighed. I've only just woken up not too long ago, so I still don't have a stable life. From now on, you'll be responsible for my basic necessities, the girl said. That's nothing, no problem. Gu Qingshan patted his chest. He seems to have forgotten that he's broke. When the girl heard this, a satisfied look appeared on her face. I've been observing you for a while now, you're quite a decent person, I'll trust you this once. Saying so, the girl solemnly took out 2 items. A pen. A bucket of gray paint. She put the bucket of paint on the ground, held the pen, and looked at Gu Qingshan. What are you doing? Don't say anything. The girl's expression became solemn. She looked back and forth at Gu Qingshan for over half an hour before asking, What's your profession? Chef, combat profession, a sword cultivator. Take out your swords. Gu Qingshan took out the Chao Yin sword and 6 paths great mountain sword, 1 in each hand. Stand still, don't move a single inch, and don't open your mouth to speak, the girl reminded him. Gu Qingshan snorted in response, then obediently stood still. No wonder he trusted her so much, her knowledge, the method she used to activate divine crystals, even that divine craft research summary was real. Not to mention, the cards she used were a bit too powerful. The reason why she lost to me was because she sealed her wisdom, and also because she didn't want to use her full strength. The girl took a few steps back, then observed him again. No, you should float, that way it'll look better, she clapped her hands. Gu Qingshan lightly leapt up, hovering about half a foot above the ground, wielded her swords with both hands, and silently hovered in the air. The girl looked left and right at him, then said, A bit higher. Gu Qingshan flew a bit higher. No, a bit lower, it's too low. Raise it a bit higher. Done. The girl finally showed a satisfied expression. She then picked up the bucket of paint and dipped her pen into it. The girl began to draw various complicated runes in the air around Gu Qingshan. While drawing, she was also silently chanting an incantation. Her expression was extremely careful, as if she was afraid of making the slightest mistake. Every movement, every stroke, she had to carefully think for a while before she started. Throughout the entire process, she did not stop chanting the incantation. Time slowly passed. The night was about to pass. The sun slowly rose, carrying a bit of heat. The girl finally stopped. She looked at her work carefully and finally nodded in satisfaction. With a deep sense of exhaustion, the girl told Gu Qingshan, Remain still. You absolutely cannot move. In front of her, Gu Qingshan's entire body was now inside a rectangular rune frame. These runes were completely gray, giving off a mysterious and profound presence as they silently hovered in the air. Gu Qingshan had never seen such complicated runes before. As she carefully observed these runes, she felt an indescribable sense of desolation in her heart. Gu Shan silently sensed it for a bit. Her karmic adversity didn't react. Her spirit sense also didn't react. The girl didn't show any ill intent from start to finish. But what exactly is she doing? The girl solemnly told herself not to move, not to open her mouth to speak. And she began chanting a long and cryptic incantation. So now isn't the time to ask. Gu Shan could only keep her mind full of questions and continued to hover. Fortunately, as a Tribulation Realm cultivator, this wasn't too tiring. After chanting another incantation, the girl picked up her brush again and continued drawing gray runes in the air around Gu Shan. A few moments later, finally, she stopped and exhaled deeply. It's about time. Just don't move, I need to finish the last step after the paint is dry, the girl said. Gu Shan had no choice but to stay still. He felt rather strange. It was as if he was posing for someone else to draw him. This has never happened before. Will I be able to save Yunji and the others like this? Or could it be that doing so would make him stronger? Gu Shan had no clue. He turned to the girl. The young girl put away the paint bucket and brush, rubbing her small hands, taking a short break. Gu Shan stayed silent. Since I've decided to trust her, I'll wait until she's done. Gu Shan silently thought. Time slowly passed. Gu Shan's expression suddenly changed. A few lines of glowing text appeared in front of his eyes on the War God UI. Attention. Chapter 763. Attention, you are about to become a card. Gu Shan stared at the War God UI and froze. To be frank, Gu Shan felt that his ability to stay calm was already quite impressive, but this notification was completely out of his expectations. Without waiting for him to think too much, the girl had already prepared herself. She reached out her finger and lightly pressed it against her forehead. A speck of light that exuded supreme dignity appeared from between her eyebrows and was pinched between her fingers. As soon as this speck of light appeared, the entire world seemed to have disappeared. Time and space no longer existed. Only this speck of light illuminated the entire world. Billions of worlds and all living beings seemed to be prostrating themselves in front of this speck of light. Even Gu Shan couldn't help but feel an irresistible urge to worship him. The girl carefully held this speck of light in her hand and walked in front of Gu Shan. She muttered, "Permission granted for conversion." The speck of light was then pressed into Gu Shan's chest. Gu Shan's body glowed brightly. In a split second, he felt the world moving away from him and soon found himself in another dark space. Numerous inexplicable entities were hidden in the darkness, but when Gu Shan appeared, they all exclaimed in joy and praise. At the same time, the glowing text on the War God UI was scrolling like crazy. You've become a card, you've violated the rules set by the old gods. The will of the old gods is about to destroy you. You've just obtained the only proof of conversion from the age of old. In consideration of the old gods' joint vow, you are granted permission to undergo conversion. You've completely turned into a card. The glowing text stopped at this point. A card suddenly appeared at the center of the War God UI. It was a gray card, the back of which depicted the endless fog of primal chaos, while the front depicted Gu Shan wielding two swords, hovering in the air. Below the card, a few lines of text appeared. Frowny face gray card, sword cultivator Gu Shan grade. Gray card level 0, companion, angel of condemnation, a dusk current deck, fugitive deck. When Gu Shan finished reading the information on her card, all the messages disappeared in a flash, and new glowing words appeared again. Profession: Envoy of Condemnation. You have become an Envoy of Condemnation. After the last line of words appeared, endless light illuminated Gu Shan. The hidden world disappeared. Gu Shan found herself back in the desert of drifting sand world. The gray runes surrounding him had all disappeared. He slowly landed on the ground and couldn't help but stretch his body. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Conversion successful, the white-clothed girl said happily. Gu Qingshan looked at her. Her face revealed an unprecedented intimacy as she smiled and said, "From today onwards, you will be my only companion." She raised her arms and cheered. "That's great, I finally have a companion." "Wait, I still don't understand what's going on," Gu Qingshan said. The girl asked, "Didn't you say you wanted to save those 300 people?" Gu Qingshan replied. "Ah, that's right," the girl asked again. "Weren't you unable to become a god?" Gu Qingshan replied. "That's right," the girl clapped her hands. "That's why I've converted you into an existence similar to me." "You mean a card?" Gu Qingshan asked. He felt like he was dreaming. "In other words, I'm also a card now? I'm a card that belongs to you?" He couldn't help but ask. "No, you are the same as me, an envoy of condemnation." The girl shook her head. Gu Qingshan asked, "I've never heard of that term before, what is it?" As the girl was about to answer, the entire desert began to tremble. This was an extremely intense tremor. Both Gu Qingshan and the girl hovered in the air for a few dozen seconds before the tremor stopped. The two of them landed. "Strange, from what I know, this world has never experienced an earthquake before," Gu Qingshan commented. The girl carefully sensed her surroundings and spoke with a tense expression. "Oh no, it seems I need to tell you everything quickly, otherwise it'll be too late." "Please go ahead," Gu Qingshan replied. "You know about the prehistoric world, right?" "I do, it's a world that existed before the gods even existed," the girl explained. "This world is the prehistoric world, it contains the law of eternal indestructibility. And the law of eternal would sometimes allow the prehistoric world to give birth to existences even stronger than the gods. These existences are not sentient, other than eating the gods to fill their stomachs, they only know how to destroy and destroy." That sounds terrifying, indeed. Whenever these eternal monsters appear, it would always be a calamity for the gods. Fortunately, the gods' advantage lies in their creation. They created weapons and powers far stronger than themselves, so the envoy of condemnation is one of them? Gu Qingshan asked. "Correct, you're quite smart," the girl praised, then continued. "All existences that can threaten the gods are deemed as sinful by the gods, and the envoy of condemnation was created by the 7 demons, bestowed with power far surpassing their own. Their mission was to protect the 7 demons and eliminate all sins for them." Gu Qingshan asked. "How many envoys of condemnation are there in total?" The girl shook her head. "How many? To create someone like me, the 7 demons had already used up all of their power. To fight against the undefeatable sins, the 7 demons created many powerful items and bestowed them upon me, forming a set of condemnation cards, with the duty of protecting the demons as my duty. I traveled across the infinite worlds, either killing or sealing those monsters away, finally allowing the 7 gods to be safe. During the final time, the 7 demons noticed that the prehistoric world beneath our feet was about to give birth to an especially powerful sinful existence, so they ordered me to act, and as the envoy of condemnation, I naturally came without hesitation. But this time, the situation was extremely troublesome, so I had no choice but to use all of my power to temporarily put the sinful existence into slumber. Now that I think about it, the gods knew me too well, so they chose the most powerful monster and worked together with that monster to deal with me. Wait a minute, you said they were going to deal with you? Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask. The girl sighed. That's right, when I sealed the monster, I used up all of my power, so the gods used a trap that they had prepared beforehand to ambush me, sealing both me and the monster. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit and asked, "Could it be they were afraid of you?" The girl replied, "Indeed, during the last few days I spent with the 7 demons, I gradually gained my own thoughts and was no longer a tool. I will never forget the fear on their faces when I first expressed my feelings." After a brief moment of silence, she continued, "After slumbering for countless years inside the seal, I slowly woke up. I found that the outside world had already been turned upside down. The 7 demons were nowhere to be found. Furthermore, there were no envoys of condemnation in this world, but card users had appeared. This was most likely because the gods were afraid that another envoy of condemnation would appear, but they didn't want to give up the power that they had painstakingly created, so they changed the laws of cards and turned them into weaker card users. Then why was I able to become an envoy of condemnation? Gu Qingshan asked. Because when I was created, the four pillar gods gave me a conversion certificate, allowing me to convert another person into an envoy of condemnation. I think both the pillar gods and the demons must have regretted it. Other than that, there was another reason. The girl stared closely at Gu Qingshan. You and I are the same, both of us are entities with the release of our souls. The 7 demons couldn't release the souls of living beings, only the 4 pillar gods could. Because of that, the one and only cooperation between the pillar gods and demons led to the birth of an envoy of condemnation. Gu Qingshan went silent. Sure enough, I was still seen through. In fact, if he hadn't run into an entity like the girl, he would have killed the enemy to prevent his secret from being exposed. But now that she had revealed it to him, and even tried her best to help him with the conversion, it had become a mutual secret between the two of them. Even the release of the soul was only a basic requirement, and even the gods were afraid of such entities. It was obvious how powerful an envoy of condemnation was. Isn't that what I'm looking for? What happened next? Gu Qingshan asked. The girl replied, After I woke up, I found that the eternal monster was still sealed by me, and I was also trapped together with the entire condemnation card. I had only regained my consciousness. Gu Qingshan scowled. The gods shouldn't have made such a mistake, so why did such a situation occur? The girl replied. After a long period of sensing, I found out that it was because a certain church had gathered a large amount of manpower and resources to research the seal. They wanted to obtain the excessively powerful power from the condemnation card. While they hadn't succeeded, I began to think of a way to escape. Later on, I found out that only by dispersing all of my power and sealing away my intelligence, becoming the weakest existence possible, would I be able to escape from the seal after falling asleep. But this would cause a problem. What problem? Gu Qingshan asked. Once I escaped from the deck, the sin that even the gods couldn't fight against would quickly awaken, the girl replied. Gu Qingshan looked at her and slowly understood what she meant. In the end, you fell asleep, turned into your weakest state, and escaped from the seal, he said. The girl looked straight into Gu Qingshan's eyes and sincerely replied. In truth, this wasn't my decision, but rather the church's persistent desire to obtain the condemnation card. They managed to undo the seal at a certain moment, even if it was only for a split second. I took that chance, converted all of the condemnation card deck into the escape card deck, then dispelled all of my power. At that point, I had already escaped from the seal. Sure enough, the church quickly discovered me and came up with a way to get me out from the depths of the abyss of sin, the girl said. You converted the condemnation card deck into the escape card deck. Gu Qingshan repeated. This was exactly the same as what was displayed on the War God UI. Why is it called the escape card deck? He asked. The girl replied. Because I've already lost the majority of my power. Don't you understand what that means? Gu Qingshan was surprised, then regained his senses. That's right, he muttered. Since you've already escaped from the seal, the thing that the gods are afraid of would most likely awaken soon, the girl continued. The worldwide earthquake just now was the result of its restless sleep. I'm guessing that it will awaken very soon. In other words, we need to escape right now. Correct. How much time do we have? The girl put up a finger. Chapter 764. One day? That's too little time, Gu Qingshan commented. He looked at the girl, only to see her completely calm expression. He then asked with a serious expression, What's your escape plan? Tell me, we'll discuss it together. Plan? The girl was surprised, then replied, My plan has already been completed. What do you mean? Gu Qingshan asked. Do you still remember what you said? The girl asked. What I said. Gu Qingshan was surprised. The girl's expression was relaxed. That's right, from now on, you'll be responsible for my food, clothing, shelter, and transportation, so I'll leave the matter of escaping to you as well. Gu Qingshan said. That's not wrong. The condition she gave me for helping her was that I have to be responsible for her food, clothing, shelter, and transportation. And I've clearly agreed to it. Wait a minute, what did she help me with? Gu Qingshan regained his senses and couldn't help but ask. Although I've been turned into an envoy of condemnation, how exactly am I supposed to save my friends? The girl replied. You need to quickly advance, and I also need to recover my strength, and then? Gu Qingshan asked. The girl explained, once we're strong enough, we'll look for a certain card. It's in another set of cards, a set of cards that the 7 demons created to ensure their safety, the girl continued. That card is capable of saving even the divinities, so it would naturally be able to save your friends as well. Can't we look for it right now? With our current strength, we wouldn't even be able to discover that card, nor would we be able to use it, and we might even lose our lives because of it. Very well. I need to become stronger first, then no matter what I do, that's a necessity, Gu Qingshan muttered. At this point, the girl stared closely at him and muttered, I still don't know your name. My name is Gu Qingshan, the same as when I registered, Gu Qingshan replied. When the girl heard this, she smiled and said, Yes, my name is Shi. You are the only one of my kind, so you can call me Little Shi. The young girl Xiao Shi stretched her back and said, I worked hard for an entire night to finish your transformation, so I need to rest for a bit. I'll leave the escape to you. Gu Qingshan looked at the desert and then at Xiaoxi. She could not help but ask, Are you going to sleep here? No, take me with you, Little Dusk said. Bang! She suddenly turned into an emerald green card and floated in front of Gu Qingshan, landing in his hand. Keep me well. Call me if you need anything. Little Dusk reminded him through the card. Gu Qingshan held the card in his hand and read the description on the war god Yu. Jade card. Angel of Condemnation, Dusk grade. Lapis 5 stars. Companion. Sword Cultivator Gu Qingshan. Current deck, Escape deck. A note, because she lost the majority of her power, Angel of Condemnation. Dusk's grade has fallen to Lapis. Little Dusk, don't you have any plans or ideas about how to escape? Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask. Little Dusk waved her hand at him from the card and casually answered. I used to only know how to fight, but after being sealed away for so long, I couldn't help but lose the majority of my power in order to escape. Now that I no longer have any power and am unfamiliar with this world, I'll have to rely on you for everything. Gu Qingshan. All right, he silently consoled himself. She's already done enough, even helping me become an envoy of condemnation, so it's my turn to do my part. He suddenly recalled something and asked, If this world is about to end, we need to take my companion's divine power frost crystal with us. Why didn't you say so earlier? I was about to go to bed, Little Dusk unwillingly said. She turned back into a real person, crouched down in front of the divine power frost crystal, and put her hand on it. Come, she lightly shouted. Poof! The blue ice crystal instantly turned into a card. Little Dusk handed the card to Gu Qingshan and complained. Ow, I'm so tired, I want to sleep, don't wake me up. She turned back into a card and flew into Gu Qingshan's hand. On the card, she had changed into a set of pajamas and was comfortably sleeping on a large bed. Looks like she's really tired. Gu Qingshan looked at her, then at the Ice Frost Crystal card. The Ice Frost Crystal card's description was quite simple. It only stated that it was a blank card that could temporarily store items. Gu Qingshan looked at the 2 cards and couldn't help but sigh. Everything that happened today was completely out of his expectations, almost like a dream. I actually became an envoy of condemnation. Now that I think about it, if I didn't have the Blood Sea deck, I wouldn't have attracted Little Dusk's attention at all. During the process of doing the quest, we got to know each other a lot better. And most importantly, I finally decided to save her at the very last moment, and even helped her stop the black-cloaked man's capture. Little Dusk saw everything and became closer to me. And because I showed Little Dusk that my soul had been released during the battle, she wanted to turn me into an envoy of condemnation. Right now, the only two envoys of condemnation in this world are me and Little Dusk. Gu Qingshan glanced at Little Dusk's card. Having gained a companion, as well as the promise of basic necessities, she was already able to sleep without worry. This is truly. Gu Qingshan shook his head. She was once an envoy of condemnation, so powerful that even the divinities feared her. But after interacting with her for a while, Gu Qingshan felt that she was still very naive. Perhaps in the past years, the gods had not taught her anything else other than battle. Most likely, the divinities weren't willing to teach her anything else. Come to think of it, from the moment she was born, she was used as a tool of war, then sealed away. What a tragic life. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but sigh. All right, since I've already promised to take care of her, I'll deal with the rest myself. He took out a jade box carved from top-grade spirit jade, and put the two cards inside. As soon as Little Dusk entered the jade box, she could feel the abundant spirit energy inside. She comfortably turned around on the card, muttered a few words in her sleep, then went back to sleep. Gu Qingshan put the jade box away. There's only about 1 day left until this world is destroyed. Eerie monsters born from eternity are about to appear. Staying here will only result in being eaten. But if I want to quickly leave Drifting Sand World and safely travel through the space vortex, I'll need a decent flying vehicle. But I don't have money. I don't even have the qualifications to enter the black market. What should I do? I can also travel through the space vortex. But the space vortex of the strife zones is different from the outside world. It's full of dangerous monsters. And I don't even know how to travel to other worlds. Gu Qingshan fell into thought. There's only 1 day left. Time is too tight. White Stone World. This was the world closest to Drifting Sand World. Laughter and laughter could be heard coming from a certain large building. Ahahaha, the bounty the Holy Church of Death issued is to go to Drifting Sand World to kill a newcomer. A tall and sturdy gray giant laughed loudly. One of his subordinates tried to flatter him. Boss, our advantage is too great. After all, we only need half a day to reach Drifting Sand World. That's right, boss, this reward is too great. Not only will we get the number 600 coin, we'll also be able to directly summon a member of the Holy Church of Death. That's right, the Holy Church will allow us to enter the Holy Church of Death. The Cardinal will guide us and help us ignite our tree of divinity. Another subordinate added. Hearing that, everyone in the group smiled. The gray giant once again let out an unbridled laughter that shook the heavens. Around him, the people from the other teams were laughing along with him, not even daring to make the slightest frown. Ahahaha, the heavens are truly helping our dark torture bounty group. Our entire group is worshippers of death. The gray giant tore down the bounty notice he just hung on the wall and loudly declared, "Everyone move out, we're going to Drifting Sand World to kill that brat. And then, we're going to the Holy Church of Death." Chapter 765. Drifting Sand World. The Great Desert. At dawn, the sandstorm had already begun to rage. Gu Qingshan stood there, silently thinking of a way to escape. There's only 1 day left, which is quite pressing. But right at this time, I can't even use the Justice Iron Fist Club's name anymore. Because the other party must have found my whereabouts through the temporary mission, so they must have kept my face. I killed the black-cloaked man. They might have already sent out their subordinates to capture me and Little Dusk. Since the black market is under the Holy Church of Death's control, I'll be walking right into their trap if I show up there again. But if I don't go to the black market, I won't be able to take a flying vehicle to leave Drifting Sand World. This was really a headache. After thinking back and forth for a while, he suddenly recalled what happened just now. Little Dusk turned into a card so that I can carry her with me. That's right, I'm also an envoy of condemnation. Can I turn into a card? As soon as Gu Qingshan had that thought, a gray rune frame appeared around him. The gray rune frame silently hovered in the void of space, seemingly waiting for his order. Gu Qingshan suddenly realized, I can turn into a card at any time. His mind moved. Bam! Gu Qingshan disappeared from the desert, replaced by a gray card. On the gray card, Gu Qingshan was excitedly looking around. He found himself in a cramped environment, surrounded by gray fog, but whenever he tried to touch anything, he would hit a solid wall. Little Dusk's card could fit an entire bedroom, including a bed, so why does my card only have a standing space? While Gu Qingshan was thinking, a message was transmitted to his mind from the gray fog. I must increase my card grade in order to expand my card space. So that's why. Gu Qingshan understood, put his hand on the gray rune on the edge of the card, and looked outside. He found that he could see the desert scenery outside from the card. How miraculous! Gu Qingshan sighed. With a thought, the gray runes around his body completely disappeared, and he was ejected from the card. He turned back into a human and appeared in the desert. Gu Qingshan thought for a while and came up with a plan. Shanu, young master, I'm here. Shanu walked out from the void of space behind him. I have a small plan, Gu Qingshan said. Please instruct me, Gongzi, Shanu replied. Use mystery of all beings equal to transform into a human first. Yes. Soon, a streak of light streaked across the sky and landed at the entrance of the town. A green-clothed woman appeared. She seemed to be a female cultivator with a clean background. Even the book at the entrance of the town did not make things difficult for her. After passing the test, she successfully entered the town. Since she did not have much money, the female cultivator went straight to the labor dispatch center and teamed up with someone to take on a temporary task. This was the simplest temporary task, similar to the topographic survey that Gu Qingshan had done before. The objective of the mission was to go to a designated desert and collect some special stones. The reward for the mission was only 40 coins. The coin was number 1, which depicted a type of plant-eating floating monster that ate the residue of the void. This was the lowest level coin in the strife zones. Although there were 40 of them, this amount of money was only enough to buy a single meal in the town. Even so, for newcomers, this was a mission that they had to complete. Before they left, the female cultivator told them that her time was limited, so she asked her 2 companions to hold her hand and travel together. After that, she teleported a few times in a manner that was almost like teleportation and brought her 2 companions to their destination. Her 2 companions were naturally shocked. I don't have any other skills, I just know a bit of teleportation, the female cultivator smiled and explained. The 2 of them were surprised. That's right, if they had this level of teleportation and fighting prowess, they would have already entered the black market and wouldn't need to do this kind of mission in the outskirts of the town. Temporary tasks were very simple, they only needed people to do them. The 3 of them quickly completed the mission. The female cultivator used the same method to teleport a few times in the desert before teleporting back with her 2 companions. The entire mission took 10 minutes. The 3 of them turned in the mission, said their goodbyes, and quickly went their separate ways. After all, everyone only formed a temporary party for the sake of becoming a permanent party. The 2 newcomers quickly went to look for the parties they wanted to join. The blue-dress female cultivator stayed at the black market's labor center, taking the meager amount of money she received from the mission and went to look for the party manager. I want to apply to create a permanent party, the female cultivator said. To create the most basic permanent party, you need at least 3 people, as well as 20 number 1 coins. Have your party members register here, the manager replied. The female cultivator nodded, bowed, and left. She found a secluded corner of the town and took out a card from her sleeve. Gongzi, we need 3 people to create a party, she worriedly said. Gu Qingshan stood inside the card and said, I heard it just now, let's go, we'll go together. He leapt out from the card and activated, Mystery of All Beings Equal. Gu Qingshan quickly turned into Wang Cheng's appearance. Shanna looked at him and said, There are only 2 of us, we're still missing one, leave it to me later, Gu Qingshan said. The 2 of them returned to the labor center. We want to create a party, Gu Qingshan said. The manager looked at the 2 of them and spoke impatiently. 20 number 1 coins, we need at least 3 people to create a party. Gu Qingshan gestured for Shanu to take out the coins. He gave all 40 coins to the manager and smiled. My friend will be here soon, please help us register first. Taking the money, the manager's eyebrows loosened a bit. The manager didn't say anything else and began to help them register their party. The entire process was very quick, only stopping at the very last step. This step required each party member to leave their appearance and voice. Shanu first pressed on a square rock and left his voice. Shanu, cultivator, member of Baihua party, then Gu Qingshan. He pressed on the rock and left his voice. Wang Qing, devil summoner, member of Baihua party. The manager's attitude was a lot better now and asked, What about the last person? Shanu looked at Gu Qingshan. Please wait a moment, I'll call him. Gu Qingshan smiled and said. He quickly left the room. A few minutes later, another man with a dignified appearance appeared. The man quickly walked in and apologized to the manager. I'm sorry, I'm late. The manager didn't say anything else and pointed at the rock with his chin. The man pressed his hand on the rock and left his voice. Qi Yan, cultivator, member of Baihua party. The manager took the rock and gave Shanu a simple badge. For the sake of the money, he added one more sentence. From now on, your party will be formed. I suggest you start with simple quests and slowly understand this world, only then will you understand how to get rich here. Thank you. Shanu and Qi Yan both clasped their fists. They walked outside the labor center and began to look at the quests on the wall. Gongzi, take a look, Shanu said. The 2 of them looked. Sure enough, Gu Qingshan's image appeared at the very top of the quest's wall. Not just him, but Little Dusk's image as well. This was probably the image that the 2 of them left behind when they accepted the quest. Below their images, a bounty with an amazing reward had been posted. The crowd was so packed that not even a drop of water could pass through, trying to see the quest. The Holy Church of Death personally posted a quest. Drifting Sand World is going to get rowdy, someone clicked his tongue. Forget it, with just us, there's no way we can even think about this quest. The big shots of the black market should be able to do it, another person said. Many people silently nodded as they heard that. But their eyes were still glued to the bountiful rewards, unwilling to look away. Gu Qingshan silently stared at this. So I'm still wanted by the Holy Church of Death. I'll have to be a bit more careful in the strife zones from now on. Gongzi, what do we do now? Shanu asked. Of course we do the quests and try to get into the black market as soon as possible. We need to hurry up. Gu Qingshan's gaze skimmed through the bounty notice, looked through all the missions on the wall, and finally chose one of them. We're going to take that one, he told Shanu. Shanu looked at where he was pointing. The description of the quest was, The black market's guards have issued an important quest, searching for all information related to the Holy Church of Death's bounty. Once the information is verified, the following reward will be immediately given: a black market qualification, hashtag 10 coin, 1,000 pieces. Depending on the importance of the information, the guards will increase the reward. Attention! If anyone is found to be cheating, they will be executed immediately. Reading the quest description, Shanu froze. She sent her voice. Gongzi, they're going to capture you, but you're going to report your information to them? Chapter 766. The Space Vortex. A medium-sized airship was quickly approaching Drifting Sand World. One of his subordinates reported, Boss, our ship has been flying at full speed for a while now. The machine might not be able to handle it anymore. The gray giant stood on the deck of the ship and looked towards the space vortex. No need to worry, it's just a ship. The gray giant pointed forward and laughed. Look, we're about to reach Drifting Sand World. The Holy Church of Death's bounty is ours. The entire bounty hunter squad cheered. Where's Sky Eye? The gray giant asked behind him. I'm here, boss. A man with 4 eyes on his forehead stepped out and answered. The gray giant asked, The 2 people on the bounty, did you get a good look at their faces? I did, Sky Eye replied. The gray giant asked, Are there any issues? Sky Eye patted his chest. Don't worry, boss, as soon as they appear anywhere in Drifting Sand World, I'll be able to see them, the gray giant said. You can begin now. Report to me as soon as you find the target. Yes, boss, Sky Eye replied. He sat down on the deck of the ship, closed his eyes and fell asleep. Several fierce subordinates walked up to the gray giant and knelt down on one knee. Boss, please leave this hunting mission to our squad. The other squads immediately objected. They all stood up and asked the gray giant for permission to fight. The gray giant waved his hand dismissively. There's no need to argue here, because I won't choose any of you. The subordinates exchanged glances, not understanding what their boss meant. The gray giant replied, Do you think this is a normal mission? No, this is a great opportunity that will affect the future of all of us. He displayed a cruel smile and loudly declared, As soon as Sky Eye finds the target, our entire bounty hunter squad will move out and kill them in one strike. The village. Another worker dispatch center. But this time, Wang Qing received the most solemn treatment. In a small room at the deepest part of the dispatch center, he was telling them the information he received. It was a coincidence. I happened to be there at the time and saw the man and woman on the bounty list, he said. In front of him, the captain and vice-captain of the black market guards had serious expressions as they listened to him carefully. Wang Qing continued, It's probably because I was hunting at the time and hid in the depths of the desert, concealing my presence, so those 2 didn't notice me. They hurriedly flew over from a place not far from me. Which direction did they go? Do you still remember the coordinates? The guard captain asked. Of course, please give me a map, Wang Qing said. Soon, a map was spread out in front of him. Wang Qing looked at it and made a mark somewhere on the map. They probably headed in this direction. Not long after they passed by me, I clearly felt a strange fluctuation. Now that I think about it, it's probably some kind of defensive measure for cultivators. What's it called again? Wang Qing thought hard and said. A spirit energy defensive formation, the guard captain couldn't help but say. Wang Qing clapped his hands and said, Right. Spirit energy defense array. I did sense the fluctuations of that power. Which means they weren't too far away from you? The guard captain asked. Yes, the fluctuations I sensed were relatively stable and strong. I can feel that they weren't too far away from me, Wang Qing replied. Very well, we need to confirm your information, the guard captain said. He looked at the vice-captain. The vice-captain replied, We've already sent out the fastest scout, we'll get the information soon. While he was talking, a small machine on his waist spoke. Report, discovered a cultivation-type defensive and camouflage formation. There are about a dozen of them. I can't dispel them. Roger, stand by. Yes, the voice disappeared. The 2 captains exchanged glances. The guard captain took out a round rock that gave off a white glow. Very well, now you need to put your hand on the lie detector rock to prove that you've indeed seen those 2, he said. Wang Qing put his hand on it without hesitation. I swear, the 2 people on the bounty list must have entered those formations, there's no mistake about it. Furthermore, the location I provided is definitely correct. The glowing rock didn't move at all. The guard captain smiled. Very well, you've done very well, this is your reward, he nodded to the vice-captain. The vice-captain took out a small bag and a piece of evidence, putting it on the table. Wang Qing accepted the 2 items and happily spoke. Thank you, sirs. You may leave now. Yes, Wang Qing bowed and left the room. The door closed. What do you think? The guard captain asked. What else is there to say? The information is correct. We'll immediately complete the Holy Church's bounty list and receive our reward." The vice-captain rubbed his hands. The guard captain replied, I think so too. Bring everyone with you, that way it'll be safer. After all, the Holy Church didn't ask for more people, got it?" After receiving the black market guard's reward, Wang Qing left the worker center and quickly made his way around the town. Wang Qing muttered, "Shanu, it's your turn now?" "No, a bit later." "Understood, Gongzi." While saying so, Wang Qing suddenly disappeared from a junction. A few moments later, several professionists appeared where he originally stood. "I lost him," one of them dejectedly muttered. The others used various methods to look for him, but couldn't find any trace of Wang Qing. It was now that they knew that the other party had found them and used concealment measures. "Seems like he's quite capable after all," another person commented. "That's right, otherwise he wouldn't have received the guard's reward," another person added. These greedy professionists stood still for a while, trying all sorts of methods to search for him, but still couldn't find that Wang Qing. They could only begrudgingly leave. At the same time, a blue-clothed female cultivator silently appeared at the warp gate at the center of the town. She showed the evidence to the guard. "First time in the black market?" the guard asked. "Yes," the female cultivator casually admitted. "The black market is in the sky, just follow the path and you'll reach it. This is a spatial technique." The guard looked at Shanu's delicate appearance and enthusiastically explained. "Understood, thank you." The female cultivator walked into the path without looking back and headed deeper. A few moments later, the path ahead became clear. She had arrived at the black market. The guard at the entrance looked at Shanu and waved his hand to let her through. As Shanu entered the black market, she stopped and looked around. Rather than calling this a market, it was more accurate to call this a super-large floating port. Countless airships were landing and taking off at the edge of the port, a large crowd of people of all shapes and sizes, all sorts of noises mixed together. It was a very lively scene. In the black market, all races must take human form to facilitate communication, as well as to conserve space. "Gongzi, this place is so busy," Shanu sighed emotionally. "Don't look around for now, quickly find a place to hide and let me do it." Gu Qing Shan's voice came from her chest. He turned into a card and hid inside Shanu's body, cautiously observing their surroundings. Noticing that something was wrong, Shanu lowered her voice and asked, "Gongzi, what is it?" Chapter 767. The Black Market. Shanu had turned into a sword and disappeared into the void of space behind Gu Qing Shan. Gu Qing Shan was still in Wang Qing form, running through the streets as if he was flying. Weapon shops, treasure appraisals, auction houses, bars, restaurants, arenas, armor shops, technology centers, slave markets, recruitment centers, drifting sand worlds, real estate registry, unknown life and event registry, black market security center, professionist salon, bounty hunter association, thief guild, skill shop, etc., all sorts of organizations passed by Gu Qing Shan. According to Gu Qing Shan's original plan, there were many places he needed to visit. For example, the treasure appraisals. He needed to check out the Black Tree Branch's abilities and uses under the premise that there were protective measures in place. Weapon stores, bars, professionist salon, skill shop, there were many places worth visiting. In fact, Gu Qing Shan originally wanted to go to the Thief Guild to see if he could find a way to open the black-cloaked man's treasure bag. But now, Gu Qing Shan gave up on everything else and only wanted to escape from this world as soon as possible. An unprecedented dark shadow loomed over his heart. Gu Qing Shan was quickly walking while breathing heavily. Not breathing because he was tired, but because his body was tense like never before. He quickly glanced around. In the black market, the guards patrolled back and forth, and the creatures of the various races who walked on the streets were very well behaved. Everything was in good order, and it was a peaceful scene. But Gu Qingshan had fallen into a state of anxiety. For some reason, he found himself in a battle-ready state, ready to fight to the death at any moment. A karmic adversity, he muttered. Indeed, without any warning, the final and most ferocious karmic adversity silently arrived. This was an indescribable feeling, as if the road between life and death was waiting for him in front of him. Damn it! This wasn't a good feeling at all. Gu Qingshan was even starting to miss the lightning tribulation. Because compared to that, a karmic adversity felt like it was on a completely different level. He tried his best to remain calm and continued walking. A few moments later, he finally reached the end of the road. The flight center. This was the edge of the black market, and it was also a port for all kinds of flying vehicles. If he wanted to leave this world, he had to leave this place. Gu Qingshan quickly entered the flight center. "Hello, how may I help you?" A staff member looked at Gu Qingshan and slowly walked over. "I need to take the nearest ship to leave this place," Gu Qingshan said. "What's your destination?" the staff asked. Gu Qingshan glanced at the terminal's notice board. 9 Stars Empire, he replied. Before this spaceship, all the other spaceships were shown in red, which meant that they were full. According to the information on the terminal, the spaceship heading to the 9 Stars Empire would depart in 10 minutes. Although it was only the smallest spaceship, it still had seats, and the departure time was the closest. This was the best choice. Gu Qingshan didn't even want to stay a minute longer in this world. The staff said, "Let me see the seating chart for this flight." "Yes, there are 4 seats left. Would you like to book a seat?" "Yes, how would you like to pay?" "Although this is a small spaceship, we don't accept coins with numbers below number 8. I'll use the number 10 coin." Gu Qingshan took out a small bag, took out a coin, and showed it to the staff member. On the front of the coin was engraved a monster with sharp, jagged limbs, followed by the words, "Void Strangler likes to eat living things, its limbs are sharp and poisonous." On the back of the coin was engraved a number, 10. This was the number 10 coin, the reward given to Gu Qingshan by the vice-captain of the guards for the information she provided. Seeing the number 10 coin, the staff member's attitude became friendly. He said, "If it's a number 10 coin, I'll only need 27 of them." Gu Qingshan counted out 27 coins and gave them to the staff member. The staff member quickly got it done. "This way please, follow me to board the ship, dear customer," he respectfully said. "Very well, thank you," Gu Qingshan replied. As they took a few steps forward, a female voice came from behind. "Wait a minute, there are still 3 seats left? Then we also need to board the ship." The two of them turned around, only to see an alluring woman walking towards them. Behind her was a black-skinned bulky man who was holding the hand of a 6 to 7-year-old boy. Gu Qingshan froze. He was very familiar with this woman, they even fought against each other before. The demon scorpion empress. She had actually transformed into her human form. "It's you?" Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask. "That's right, I'm going to book a seat first, we'll talk later." The demon scorpion empress waved her hand at him. The staff member spoke. "Madam, there are 3 seats left, do you? I'll take them all," the demon scorpion empress said. "Ah, very well, I'll get it done right away," the staff member replied. He pointed at the void of space a few times, seemingly operating something. Behind her, the black-skinned bulky man waved at Gu Qingshan with a smile. Gu Qingshan didn't understand what he meant, so she forced a smile. The black-skinned bulky man thought for a bit and put up a finger. On his finger, boundless green light surged endlessly. Gu Qingshan immediately noticed the presence of this green light. This was the same presence as the tree I saw in the desert. Gu Qingshan looked at the boy next to the bulky man. The boy was staring at her while wiping his drool. After a bit of thought, Gu Qingshan smiled bitterly and understood. So this boy was the little black scorpion, and this black-skinned bulky man must be the demon scorpion empress husband. Then he definitely isn't a tree. His identity is already very clear. What a coincidence, I didn't think I'd run into you guys here, Gu Qingshan said. Us too, I didn't think your fighting skills would be so good, and your instincts are also quite impressive, the black-skinned bulky man said. Instincts? What does that mean? While Gu Qingshan was thinking, the staff member had already finished registering them. The demon Scorpion Empress scowled and unwillingly took out a few coins to pay the bill. The four of you, please follow me, he smiled and said. The group stopped talking and followed the staff member through the spacious waiting area to arrive at a small airship. It was a real airship, a bit similar to the Spire Society's sailboat. A magic-type airship, not bad, it should be a bit more stable than a technology-type airship, the demon Scorpion Empress said in satisfaction. The four of them boarded the ship. The interior of the airship was arranged so that every 4 passengers could have a private room. The staff member led them to the last room and lightly opened the door. There was no one inside, but there was a table and 4 chairs, all of which were quite spacious. There were various snacks on the table, as well as 4 cups of steaming hot tea. A large floor-to-ceiling glass provided a good view, allowing them to observe the scenery outside from inside the airship. After leading the 4 of them inside, the staff member smiled. The ship will depart in a few minutes. I wish you all a pleasant journey. As he was about to bow, he stopped. The demon Scorpion Empress, her husband, her children, as well as Gu Qingshan, all stopped. At the very next second, boom! Far below the ground, a loud tremor could be heard. Although the black market was high up in the sky, the slight tremor in the air was enough for them to guess the magnitude of the tremor. Everyone's expression changed. Gu Qingshan wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He knew the truth. The demon Scorpion Empress and her husband were both worried, carefully exchanging glances. Chapter 768. It's fine, we'll be leaving soon, the black-skinned man quickly comforted his son. The staff was obviously shocked as well. He bowed to them and hurriedly retreated from the room. The door closed behind him. The air froze for a few moments. Everyone silently felt the trembling and struggling of the ground. The entire drifting sand world was shaking. No one would believe that this was an earthquake. How many minutes left until we leave? The demon Scorpion Empress suddenly asked Gu Qingshan. Half a minute, Gu Qingshan answered. That's good, we're about to leave, the black-skinned man sighed. Wait a minute, I have a question. There were thousands of people in this hall. How did you manage to recognize me as soon as I appeared? Gu Qingshan asked. The man smiled. My needle has always been with you, but you've never used it before, so that's why. The man sighed a bit helplessly. You can actually use it without worry, Gu Qingshan awkwardly explained. I didn't actually use it because I didn't know how to use it, since the door to the private room was closed and no one else was here. He returned to his original appearance. The man smirked. With my needle, no monster in the desert will trouble you. Furthermore, any enemy that gets stabbed by it will definitely die. Trust me, my poison is very hard to cure. I understand. Thank you, sir. Gu Qingshan nodded. The demon Scorpion Empress suddenly reached her hand out to Gu Qingshan. What is it? Gu Qingshan asked. You killed that black-robed man. Everyone who saw it has a share, the demon Scorpion Empress answered. You weren't there at the time. How did you see it? Gu Qingshan asked. I don't care, I've secretly helped you a lot. The demon Scorpion Empress still had her hand out. Gu Qingshan smiled. Such a combatant wouldn't lie for such a small matter. And when Gu Qingshan fought with her, she noticed that she didn't hold any killing intent towards her at all. But there's a problem. I can't open this bag, Gu Qingshan said honestly. Don't worry, no one in the entire black market can open his personal treasure bag, but my husband can, the demon Scorpion Empress proudly declared. The dark-skinned man smiled in embarrassment. His wife immediately glared at him. What do you mean? Gu Qingshan asked. We'll help you open it, we'll split the things inside 50-50, the demon Scorpion Empress said. With your strength, do you still care about this little bit of money? Gu Qingshan was puzzled. The demon scorpion empress spoke worriedly. After we leave our home, we'll definitely need to spend money everywhere. Our children will also need to receive good education, nutrition, and all other necessities won't be a problem. We'll be spending money like water at that time, so we need to earn as much as we can for now. That makes sense, let's split the money. Gu Qingshan sighed. Without hesitation, he took out the black bag and threw it to the man. The demon scorpion empress threw it to the black-skinned man. The burly man took the small bag and weighed it in his hand. Suddenly, he stretched out a finger and pointed at the mouth of the bag. Bam! With a light click, the bag was open. The burly man picked up the bag, wanting to give it to Gu Qingshan. The demon scorpion empress glared at him. The burly man begrudgingly put the bag back on the table. It's fine, you can pick what's in this bag first, Gu Qingshan said. So generous? The demon scorpion empress smiled. I'm a single man anyways, I don't have as much pressure as you do, so you can pick first, Gu Qingshan said. The demon scorpion empress smile became a lot more sincere. This brat doesn't know what's in the bag, and I can pick first, so I can take as much or as little as I want, right? Since he said that, she wasn't in a hurry to pick anything, that would be too ungentlemanly. She decided to speak first. From what I can see, you should be at Tribulation Realm late stage among cultivators, and you're about to break through. That's right, Gu Qingshan replied. From what I can see, you should still have one last karmic adversity left, indeed. If that's the case, follow us for the rest of the way, we'll take care of you, thank you. Gu Qingshan clasped her fist solemnly. A karmic adversity is a big deal for me, but for someone like the demon scorpion empress, as long as she's willing to take care of it, it's nothing. No need to be so polite, since we're both going to escape this place, helping each other out isn't a big deal, the demon scorpion empress generously replied. Suddenly, boom! An intense earthquake. The world around them shook intensely. The earthquake this time was much stronger than the previous ones, even the sky itself was filled with intense wind. Fortunately, the airship had already taken off. The airship broke through the layer of clouds, turning into a streak of light as it sped up. We're finally leaving, the demon scorpion empress expression was a bit pale. I don't want to leave the abyss of sin, but there's no other way, staying alive is more important, the black-skinned man said. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask, why are you leaving? The demon scorpion empress sighed. The same reason as you, that's right, the black-skinned man replied. That thing is about to wake up. He reached his hand out to touch his son's head. All of a sudden, a golden rune appeared out of nowhere. This rune manifested into a thread that coiled around the black-skinned man's body and took him away. Before the demon scorpion empress could do anything, another golden thread had already bound her. Damn it, this is God! The demon scorpion empress angrily cursed and disappeared. Right after that, just as their son was about to cry, he was also taken away by a golden light. In the blink of an eye, all three of them disappeared without a trace. Gu Qingshan only saw a few flashes of golden light in front of his eyes before everything was over. On the table, the 4 cups of hot tea were still smoking. But he was the only one left in the green room. Gu Qingshan slowly stood up. The current situation was completely out of his expectations. Both the demon scorpion empress and the black-skinned man were powerful entities. But they were taken away without even a chance to resist. Although he knew that even the demon scorpion empress couldn't resist that kind of power, Gu Qingshan still drew the 6 paths great mountain sword out of habit. Boom! The ground was shaking more and more intensely. An even more intense will of death descended from the void of space, tightly gripping Gu Qingshan's body and mind. A karmic adversity had arrived. Gu Qingshan forced himself to calm down and silently prepared himself. Suddenly, he looked outside the floor-to-ceiling window. Up in the sky, a number of burning spaceships were descending. Gu Qingshan silently looked at the serial numbers of those airships. He closed his eyes and recalled the information he saw in front of the terminal. It's the same. These are all the airships that just took off. Why are they all crashing down? Gu Qingshan released his inner sight to check the sky. Countless burning airships were crashing down from the sky, as if the end of the world had arrived. All of a sudden, the airship that Gu Qingshan was on began to shake intensely. The various magical fluctuations on the airship quickly became stronger. Not good. Gu Qingshan's heart sank. He quickly put the black bag on the table away, raised his sword, and stabbed the outer wall of the airship with all his might. Secret art, water flow severance. Dong 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 dong. No matter how sturdy the wall of the airship was, it couldn't withstand his full strength. A large hole was blasted open by the sword phantoms, letting in the cold wind outside. Gu Qingshan's figure flashed, turning into a black shadow as he rushed out from the hole in the wall. Boom! As soon as he flew out, the airship had already exploded into a giant ball of fire, crashing down from the sky along with the other airship. Gu Qingshan hovered in the air, looking up at the sky. A layer of faint golden runes was slowly manifesting. These runes covered the entire sky. Gu Qingshan paused for a bit. Many powerful people were struggling to fly out from the falling fireballs, but no one knew why this was happening. Everyone's faces were filled with panic and confusion. Occasionally, he would see airships flying into drifting sand world from outer space. However, from the beginning to the end, any spaceship that attempted to leave this world would turn into a ball of burning flames and crash after touching the runes. Very clearly, only entry, not exit. Gu Qingshan squinted his eyes at the golden runes and muttered, "This is divine script." He had seen similar runes before in Triest's collection world, on the peak of the old gods' ice mountain. Who would have thought that the divine script of the old gods would appear again in the strife zones? Thinking back to the time when the Scorpion King's family was kidnapped, it was clearly the work of a certain divinity. For some reason, Gu Qingshan's heart slowly tightened, his entire body felt cold. What are the divinities trying to do? Aren't they already dead? Could it be that they already knew that the angel of condemnation, Dusk, would one day escape? So to trap that evil entity they prepared something else? A few moments later, a resounding voice resounded from the divine script. Summon, desolate world eater demon bug. After the voice resounded, the golden runes in the sky slowly disappeared. The runes had used up all of their power to summon, so they naturally disappeared. A layer of red flesh covered the entire sky, forming a new barrier. The wall made of flesh began to wriggle. Quite a few people tried to fly up and break through the layer of red flesh, but all of them were smashed into pieces by the invisible force. Gu Qingshan saw with his own eyes a combatant whose presence was comparable to a lord class being squashed by the invisible force while trying to break through the flesh barrier. And when this combatant died, he was still a few meters away from the flesh barrier. A few thin and long tentacles reached out from the flesh barrier and sucked the flesh and blood of the powerhouse clean. Quite obviously, from now on, the flesh barrier would be blocking everyone's way out. Gu Qingshan gritted his teeth and silently thought about how to break through the barrier. All of a sudden, a female voice came from his sleeve. "Ah, it's so noisy." Gu Qingshan immediately took out a card. Inside the lapis card, Little Dusk had just sat up on her bed and yawned. "What's going on? I can't even sleep well." "Look at the sky," Gu Qingshan told her. As Little Dusk looked up, she immediately woke up. "Oh no, this is a demon bug that can eat worlds. Drifting Sand World has already been eaten into its stomach," Little Dusk said. "Is there a way to get out?" Gu Qingshan asked. "This demon bug existed before the birth of divinities. It's extremely powerful. My current strength isn't enough to deal with it," Little Dusk replied. The two of them exchanged glances, both feeling heavy. At another location, in another part of the world, a ship had just entered drifting sand world not too long ago. On the ship, Reflective net. Reflects the enemy's first attack completely. Description: an eye for an eye. Description: the net cannot reflect one-hit fatal attacks, and cannot reflect attacks that exceed 3 times the envoy of condemnation's power. Bang. The cards dispersed. A net of light formed by white ropes leaped out of thin air. The net of light blocked a blinding pillar of light in front of the two of them. As the pillar of light fell into the net, it slowly extended until it reached the two of them. It's fine, the net hasn't reached its limit yet. This attack can be reflected, Little Dusk said. As soon as she said so, the pillar of light condensed into a ball and was reflected. In the blink of an eye, the ball of light disappeared in front of them. Not too far away, a bright flame suddenly lit up in the sky. A ship came crashing down from the sky with thick black smoke. Guqing Shan and Little Dusk stared at the ship. Seems like the attack just now was a sneak attack from that ship. Did you offend someone? Little Dusk asked. No, but someone is trying to catch us, Guqing Shan replied. Who? Little Dusk curiously asked. The Holy Church of Death, of course, Guqing Shan replied. Little Dusk then realized. Not too far away, a few dozen people flew out from the crashed ship, quickly heading towards the two of them. They weren't too far away. Those people quickly arrived in front of the two of them and surrounded them. Little Dusk asked, These people don't look like divine officers, why are they trying to catch us for the divinities? Are they some kind of new weapon of the divinities? Guqing Shan replied, No, it's because the Holy Church offered a bounty. What's the bounty? Guqing Shan understood Little Dusk a bit better. Little Dusk knows a lot of ancient secrets and is also quite skilled in combat, but she doesn't know much about the basics of the world. He then explained the meaning of the bounty. While they were talking, a gray giant stepped out from the group of people. He was holding a wanted poster in his hand. The gray giant nodded after looking at the man and woman in front of him on the wanted poster. The target was correct. He ordered without hesitation, Go, kill them all. As the leader of a squad, he never believed that there was anything to say to his enemies. With that, the entire bounty hunter squad charged forward. Little Dusk quickly said, You're too weak, just take care of yourself, I'll be the main attacker. Got it, Guqing Shan happily replied. Those people are too strong. If I'm alone here, I'll probably have no choice but to run. He donned the Shunwei armor and prepared for battle. Little Dusk's figure flashed, already holding a card in her hand as she charged forward. She'd drawn most of their power. But there were still 7 to 8 people rushing towards Guqing Shan. Guqing Shan scanned them with his inner sight. None of them were weaker than him. Judging from their auras, they were at least at the Tribulation Realm. A few of them were even on par with virtualized or Cryptic Realm cultivators. One of them even surpassed Cryptic Realm, roughly equivalent to Chaotic Star Realm cultivators. Guqing Shan carefully avoided that person, wielded both swords and suddenly appeared in the middle of the 3 weakest people. Her swords moved. Life Seeker. 2 of them died instantly. One of them instinctively blocked Guqing Shan's sword with his instincts. The others were immediately alerted. Be careful, his swords can attack from afar, the strongest bounty hunter said. Guqing Shan silently sighed. Even with such a surprise attack, I only managed to kill 2 people. The other party was no longer approaching him, instead, they were retreating while unleashing their spells. The strongest bounty hunter and 2 other close combat warriors guarded the mages, just in case Guqing Shan suddenly appeared again. The spellcasters cast their spells as quickly as they could. Chaotic Void Slash, Explosive Flame Blast, Petrifying Ray, Air Splitting Technique, Frost Impact. Various spells gave off blinding light as they flew towards Guqing Shan. Spells all at once. These spells cleverly combined to cut off Guqing Shan's escape route. Guqing Shan couldn't help but prepare to use Shadow Shift. All of a sudden, the person who hadn't attacked until now moved. He opened his mouth and quickly declared, law, all spells will instantly hit. In the blink of an eye, the spells that were already extremely fast in the first place turned into a single line and struck Gu Qingshan. Boom! Gu Qingshan was hit squarely by this barrage of spells and quickly fell into the desert, kicking up a huge wave of sand. The sand and pebbles in the air scattered. Gu Qingshan coughed up some blood and stood up from the desert. Although the Shenwei armor managed to block this barrage of spells, it had already been destroyed. The other party's tactics were well practiced and experienced, every profession had been properly deployed, so under their sudden attack, Gu Qingshan really did fall for it. It was a difficult task to fight against so many opponents who were stronger and had good teamwork with him alone. Not to mention, this was the strife zones, and these people were all professional bounty hunters. Gu Qingshan smiled. His body shook a bit as the broken armor hanging on his body fell apart. A single sentence was enough to make the spells hit. Is this the spirit of speech? So such a thing actually happened. How interesting, he murmured softly. While facing this karmic adversity that was about to kill him, Gu Qingshan began to exude endless killing intent. He reached his hand out. The Chao Yin and 6 realm swords were already in his hands. Gu Qingshan was about to fly up. All of a sudden, a black figure descended from above and landed next to Gu Qingshan. Little Dusk. She breathed heavily and said, I can't, there are too many people, it's going to be troublesome. Gu Qingshan stopped and looked at her. You're also hurt? In the sky, the bounty hunters had surrounded the two of them under the Grey Giant's command. One of his subordinates chuckled. Boss, this mission was quite easy. If it was so easy, then I'm thinking about something else, the Grey Giant pondered. What is it? The subordinate asked. The Holy Church wants them dead so badly. Could it be because they know some sort of secret? What do you mean, boss? Get the secret out of them first, then kill them. Wouldn't that make the Holy Church unhappy? That's why I'm a bit hesitant. While they were talking, Little Dusk and Gu Qingshan were also quickly talking to each other. There are too many of them, they have great teamwork, and they're stronger than us, what do you think? Gu Qingshan asked. Little Dusk shook her head. My forte is spells, and now that I've lost most of my power, it'll be hard to deal with them all at once. Gu Qingshan sighed and said, Then we can only... Before he could finish, Little Dusk cut him off and said, Seems like we'll have to fight side by side. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised and asked, What do you mean? Little Dusk reached out 2 slender fingers and lightly pinched something in the void of space. She drew out a card. This was a card that stood out from the rest. A gentle 7-colored light lingered on the card for a very long time, making the entire card glow. There were 2 beautiful angels drawn on the card. They were leaning against each other with their backs facing each other, and they were in a praying posture. Little Dusk stared at the card. I didn't have a companion before, so this is the first time I've used this card. She tossed the card out. The card disappeared. A gray glow suddenly appeared from Gu Qingshan's body. A bright green glow appeared from Little Dusk's body. The 2 glows of light fused together to form a single string. This string connected Gu Qingshan and Little Dusk together. The string of light only existed for a split second before disappearing. Little Dusk muttered, But the situation is different now. Gu Qingshan glanced at the war god UI. Lines of glowing text had already appeared on the UI. Unique card. Duo image, activated, Envoy of Condemnation. Gu Qingshan is attempting to synchronize. Angel of Condemnation, Dusk is attempting to synchronize, a synchronization successful. Chapter 770. Gu Qingshan glanced at the war god UI. The lines of glowing text were still scrolling by. Duo image combat mode. In this combat mode, the 2 envoys of condemnation can instantly share all of each other's combat cards, as well as their card-type combat experience. You've obtained the right to use all of the Lapis Grade card, Angel of Condemnation, Dusk's combat cards. You've learned how to use these cards. You are a Grey Grade 0 card, Angel of Condemnation. Dusk is unable to obtain any combat cards from you. You've never participated in card combat before. Angel of Condemnation. Dusk is unable to obtain any combat experience from you due to this situation. Whenever you use 3 of your opponent's cards, Angel of Condemnation, Dusk will be able to draw one of your skills and manifest it as a card. You may choose your first personal skill as a card and place it into Angel of Condemnation. Dusk's deck. Gu Qing Shan read through it all at once. Little Dusk continued. It's fine, you can directly obtain my lapis grade deck. That way there will be 2 of me fighting, I should be able to win against them, she continued. According to the rules, you can choose a skill to put into our common deck. But I like sorcery-type battles, and I can't use any of your melee skills, so you can just put any one of them in. Gu Qing Shan thought for a second and said, Wait a moment. Now that he had obtained Little Dusk's card experience, he focused his mind and chose one of his skills as a shared card. A gray card appeared in front of them from the void of space. Depicted on the card were 2 arrowheads that were circling back and forth, constantly moving around each other. Card. Shadow Shift. Space-type godly skill. Instantaneous skill. You can exchange positions with anything within the range of your thoughts. Description. This skill is a law-grade divine skill. No living being can resist it. No formations, barriers, or even forbidden techniques will be able to stop it. Little Dusk was a bit surprised, then grabbed the card in her hand and excitedly exclaimed, Whoa, for a magic-type user like me, this is the best hiding card at my current level. Gu Qing Shan smiled. He was silently absorbing Little Dusk's card experience. Little Dusk, I kind of understand why the gods are afraid of you. This is nothing. My current strength is still very weak. At this time, in the sky, the gray giant finally made his final decision. No matter what the secret is, we can't provoke the divine hall. He roared, All of you attack! Kill them! The entire bounty hunter group swarmed down. Gu Qing Shan and Xiaoxi immediately noticed it. Little Dusk looked up at the enemies and began to draw cards from the void of space. She asked, Do you want to attack together with me? Gu Qing Shan also began to draw cards in the void of space. As he drew a card, he answered, No, I already have your card experience, so I know how to fight, so? Little she asked. Gu Qing Shan said, That's why I'll be in charge of the front line, and you'll be in charge of long-range spells. That's the right class combination. He waved his hand. A card was thrown out, turning into a mass of light that scattered around Gu Qing Shan's body. Rapid attack. Activate this card, your attack speed will be increased by 30%. Gu Qing Shan lightly placed the other 9 cards in the void of space. The 9 cards circled around him and slowly disappeared into the void of space. Gu Qing Shan wielded his swords and flew up to the sky. During the flight, the second card suddenly lit up. It gave off a bright green glow and disappeared into the void of space. A full metal armor engraved with complicated and dignified patterns appeared behind Gu Qing Shan. The armor scattered and turned into a helmet, a breastplate, a shoulder plate, a gauntlet, a cloak, a leggings, and a pair of boots, quickly attaching themselves onto Gu Qing Shan's body. Lapis armor. Armor of life's grace. Equipping this armor grants you a special skill. Bathing in the water of life. Special skill description. Half of the attacks you receive will be converted into healing power, continuously healing your wounds for 8 seconds. Gu Qing Shan immediately activated the special skill. His entire body glowed with a semi-transparent watery glow. He then disappeared and reappeared in the middle of the group of bounty hunters. He suddenly appeared again. Kill him! Someone shouted. Everyone attacked at once. But the watery glow around Gu Qing Shan's body absorbed half of the attacks and continued to heal his wounds. In other words, he was being healed at the same time as he was injured. Many of the attacks didn't even go through Gu Qing Shan's armor to harm him, only striking the tough surface of the armor and letting out clanking noises. A sword cultivator who doesn't need to defend himself was the most ferocious existence on the battlefield. Gu Qingshan's swords move. Sword array tai. The intense sword-infused wind turned into an invisible vortex that howled and howled through the crowd of people. A rain of blood. Everyone retreat, I'll stop him, one of the bounty hunters shouted. He leapt towards Gu Qingshan. His entire body had already turned into a transparent crystalline diamond on the way. The sword-infused wind didn't seem to affect him at all. Seeing that, Gu Qingshan let go of his swords, allowing them to freely move through the void of space and form a sword array. He reached his hand out and grabbed a card in front of himself. It was a crimson card. A group of glaring crimson light was drawn on the card. Under the blinding light, it was impossible to see what was on the card. True Crimson Demon Spear, Gu Qingshan muttered. A spear enveloped in crimson light appeared from the void of space and was held in his hand. At the same time, his armor quickly broke apart and disappeared. Rare item. True Crimson Demon Spear. Equipped with this spear, you cannot equip any armor at the same time. This spear has the law property. Absolute sharpness. Description. This is the first weapon created by the old gods to harm themselves. Unstoppable. Gu Qingshan held the spear and changed the war god title to Shenwei General. Shenwei General. Your attack speed is increased by 20%. With the rapid attack enhancement from before, as well as the war god title enhancement, Gu Qingshan's attack speed was already terrifying. At this point, the bounty hunter whose body was made of diamond had already arrived in front of Gu Qingshan. As he was about to use a close-range skill, a crimson light shot towards him. This light was too fast, even faster than he could react. He could only clasp his hands together to block the light. The crimson light flashed. The air itself let out a deafening screech, spreading like a tidal wave. The entire space around them was torn into darkness. Shah! The rapid attack combined with its unparalleled sharpness only resulted in a single result. The Diamond Man was sliced into countless pieces. In the desert, Little Dusk smirked. Not bad, as expected of my companion. She reached her hand into the void of space. Gu Qingshan had used 3 of her cards so she could draw a skill from Gu Qingshan. Originally, she didn't have much hope, but a single shadow shift made her look up to it. Little Dusk was a bit looking forward to seeing Gu Qingshan's skill. The second card appeared. It was a pink card with a lipsticked lip on it. Skill card. Casanova's Kiss. By using this card, you will unleash the most unforgettable kiss in history. Little Dusk froze, then blushed. Pa, the first time I've seen such a card, she angrily put the card back. On the other side, the gray giant who was watching from the sky changed his expression. That cultivator had clearly let go of his swords, but they were still flying back and forth, exuding the power of a giant sword array. How unlucky, running into a sword saint, the giant cursed. Sword saints were a type of cultivator, extremely rare, but their attack power was terrifying. I can't let them keep fighting like this. The gray giant grabbed a giant war hammer and charged towards the whirlwind of the sword formation. Halfway there, he abruptly stopped and swung his war hammer forward. Boom! It didn't work. 2 puppets wielding dark light black swords suddenly appeared and waved their long swords to block the hammer. Damn it! The gray giant shouted. He looked towards the desert. On the desert, Little Dusk had let go of the 2 puppet card. Humph! You think I'm just standing here to watch? She began to draw cards again. This time, she finally got the 2 cards she wanted. Little Dusk tossed one of the cards towards Gu Qingshan. The card disappeared, while 5 white shields appeared around Gu Qingshan's body. Shield Hex. Undead Shield. Activating this technique will allow you to block 5 consecutive attacks from the enemy. Although Gu Qingshan was wielding the true Crimson Demon Spear, and couldn't wear any armor, this void shield that didn't come into contact with her body was still usable. Little Dusk then turned the other card towards the gray giant and shouted, "Forbidden weapon, war hammer!" The war hammer in the gray giant's hand suddenly disappeared and reappeared in her card. The gray giant was furious and shouted, "Dark Blade, we need to rely on your shadow form now, kill that card user for me right now." A bounty hunter wielding a pair of sharp daggers moved in response. "Leave it to me, I only need 1 minute," saying so, he turned into a blurry shadow and rushed towards Little Dusk. This was an extremely rare shadow form, capable of passing through any kind of spell. As long as the enemy was killed within a certain amount of time, the law of shadow would absorb the enemy's soul and remove all damage from them. Little Dusk didn't mind and casually tossed a few cards around herself. And then, she took out the first card from Guqing Shan. Shadow Shift activate. In a split second, the bounty hunter appeared where Little Dusk was. He looked around in confusion. Why did I suddenly appear in the desert? All of a sudden, he noticed that a few cards were glowing next to his feet. At the same time, Little Dusk was already standing in the air. Little Dusk muttered, "Explode, boom 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 boom." Chapter 771. The shock waves from the explosion swept across the desert, combining with the sword-infused wind in the air to form a massive tornado. Little she didn't stop there, she continued to draw cards and unleash sky-shattering spells towards the remaining enemies. Guqing Shan let go of the true Crimson Demon's spear, and the armor of life's grace returned to his body. Outside the armor, 5 pale white shields of the dead were circling around him. Someone tried to attack, only to find that they couldn't even break through the shields. Guqing Shan waved his hand. The 2 flying swords flashed across the sky and returned to his hands. His defense was stacked to the point where the enemy couldn't break through it. As a sword cultivator, Guqing Shan didn't need to think about how to fight anymore. Ground shrink, slash. Ground shrink, kill. Ground shrink, slash. Combined with Little She's spell bombardment, Guqing Shan continued to reap the lives of his enemies. A whirlwind swept through everything. The entire bounty hunter platoon of over a dozen people was slaughtered by Guqing Shan and Little She. All of a sudden, the gray giant roared in anger. "Everyone gather here, we're going to fight to the death." The remaining subordinates' expressions changed, and they immediately gathered around him. They all gathered together and uttered a desperate roar. Guqing Shan stopped his sword. If so many powerful combatants gathered together and attacked without any regard for their lives, even with the support of countless cards, he would still have a headache dealing with them. The gray giant glowered at him, and Little She, loudly declaring, "Our bounty hunter platoon has been around for over 700 years, but we've never been destroyed before. Do you know why?" Little She curiously asked, "Why?" "Because in a moment of life and death, we'll use a secret technique scroll to burn our own lives to kill our enemies," the gray giant smirked. He carefully took out a scroll and unfolded it. Behind him, his subordinates poured all of their power into the scroll. "Tremble, you 2 brats," the gray giant roared. At the same time, the combatants behind him also appeared excited and frenzied. They all shouted in unison, "Fight to the death! Fight to the death! Fight to the death!" The air was filled with a strong will to fight, as if everyone was ready to fight for the last time. Guqing Shan gazed at the heroic scene in front of her and said emotionally, "In that case, to express my respect, I will also do my best." He raised both of his swords and silently circulated all of his spirit energy. He became completely serious. Little Dusk didn't say anything and just silently drew cards, preparing for the final battle. In the sky, the gray giant finally activated the scroll. When the scroll had absorbed enough energy, it burst into a ball of light that enveloped the remaining members of the bounty hunter group. Boom! There was an earth-shattering sound. This ball of light was like a rapidly flying meteor, flying into the distance. The light flashed a few times before disappearing into the distant horizon, disappearing without a trace. They escape. Gu Qing-shan. Xiaoxi. The two of them were ready for battle, but the result was unexpected. His speed isn't normal, we might not be able to catch up, Little Dusk said. It's too fast, I can't catch up, Gu Qing-shan sighed. The gray giant wasn't lying. With such a powerful escape technique, as well as such excellent acting skills, coupled with their shamelessness, it's no wonder this bounty hunter group was able to survive for 700 years without being wiped out. Standing in the air, Gu Qing-shan suddenly felt something in his heart slowly becoming a thing of the past. A new surge of spirit energy flowed through his body, guiding the spirit energy throughout his body to form an unprecedented tide of spirit energy. Gu Qing-shan slowly understood. So I've passed the karmic adversity. Over a dozen professional bounty hunters who were far stronger than me came to kill me, but because of Little Dusk's twin shadows, they were forced to flee. My karmic adversity has been resolved. I need to rest for a bit, Gu Qing-shan said. He didn't descend, instead, he arranged several dozen formations in the air, sat down cross-legged, and began to guide the spirit energy inside his body. A few moments later, he fell into a deep meditative state. His breakthrough was slowly but surely progressing in an irreversible manner. This was a breakthrough that didn't require him to face the lightning tribulation. But 3 karmic adversity isn't any better than a lightning tribulation. If Gu Qing-shan had to choose, he would definitely choose the lightning tribulation, not the karmic adversity. Furthermore, because Gu Qing-shan's merit was too much, he only had to face 3 karmic adversity. Cultivators who committed all sorts of evil often died at Tribulation Realm, because they had to face at least a few hundred karmic adversity. They could even choke to death just by drinking water. Life was simply unimaginable. A minute later, Gu Qing-shan opened his eyes. Virtualized Realm. Lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI. This breakthrough has ended. You've successfully broken through to Virtualized Realm. You've become a Virtualized Realm cultivator due to the Tribulation Realm's natural premonition being passively enhanced to the point where you can sense karmic adversity. Your spirit sense has been greatly used up and will fall into a dormant state for a short while. The duration will depend on your situation. Please pay special attention. Breaking through to Projection Realm, Tribulation Realm, and Virtualized Realm will not awaken your thaumaturgy. You will only awaken your thaumaturgy when you advance to Cryptic Realm. After the glowing text finished, it slowly faded away. Gu Qing-shan didn't really care about the thaumaturgy, because he already knew about it when he broke through to Tribulation Realm. His spirit sense falling into a dormant state was a bit of a challenge, because cultivators like to use their instincts to sense the connection between themselves and the outside world. Losing his spirit sense so abruptly was still a bit difficult to adapt to. He looked next to him, only to see Little She's sleepy expression, her head swaying back and forth, trying her best to stay awake and silently watch over him. I'm done, Gu Qing-shan said. That's right, you finally broke through, Little She yawned. Why are you so tired? Gu Qing-shan asked. Because of duoing? I don't feel like I'm affected at all. Of course you won't be affected. Little Dusk rubbed her tired eyes. Your level is too low to be able to activate your cards to fight, so in the duo image mode, both of our cards will be consumed by me alone. I'm sorry. Please tell me how to become stronger as an envoy of condemnation. I'll definitely try my best to share your burden later on, Gu Qing-shan said apologetically. Little Dusk explained. There are 3 ways to become stronger. The first is to naturally evolve like you did, the second is to devour other cards, the third is to search for the inheritances left behind by the old gods and use them to increase the grade of your cards. The inheritance of the old gods? Gu Qing-shan suddenly recalled what happened not too long ago. In Trist's collection world, the Demon King Order, Origin was designed to obtain the inheritance of the old gods and evolved into Worlds Apocalypse Online, Revolution. Who would have thought that I'd be the same as an order? needing to use such an item to evolve. Little Dusk continued to explain. Natural advancement is the slowest, devouring cards is a bit faster. But not every card is suitable for you, you need to find a card that is compatible with you. Lastly, using an inheritance item left behind by the old gods is the fastest, but those inheritance items are all secrets among secrets, so they can't be easily found. Alright, that's enough, I'm so tired, I'm going to sleep for a bit, little she finally said. She turned into a lapis-colored card and landed in Gu Qingshan's hand. In the card, she had already changed into cute pajamas and was sleeping soundly on the bed. Gu Qingshan carefully put the card into a jade box and put it in his sleeve. He looked at the war god UI. A card had appeared at the center of the UI. It was a gray card. He himself was wielding 2 swords, hovering in the middle of the card. Gray card. Sword Cultivator Gu Qingshan Grade. Gray card Level 0, Companion. Angel of Condemnation, Dusk Corresponding Deck. Fugitive Deck. All the information disappeared. A line of glowing text appeared below the card. Your personal strength has increased, officially evolving from level 0 to 1 star. You've become a 1-star card. You've obtained a gray skill card. Amplified Damage. A card with a gray background appeared on the UI. On the front of the card, there was a drawing of a long blade, occasionally giving off a cold gleam. Skill card. Amplified Damage. After equipping this card, whenever you deal damage to an enemy, the enemy will take an additional 3% damage. A description. This is a gray level passive skill card. When you are in battle, equip this card and it will continue to work. As a gray card, it's already working very hard. Reading through the information, Gu Qingshan felt that compared to Little She, her card was a bit too weak. Fine, my level is so low, it's already good enough to have a card to use. Chapter 772. Gu Qingshan stood in the night sky and silently sensed her current state. The surging spirit energy tide had calmed down a bit. I'll probably need a few more days to fully gather and control this newly formed spirit energy. During this time, my spirit energy could still fall into a state of turbulence at any time. So I can't break through right away. Alright, even with the help of soul points, I can't be too hasty when it comes to breaking through, otherwise, it'll just be a waste of time. Gu Qingshan stopped thinking about her cultivation and took out a small black bag. This was the black-cloaked man's personal storage bag, which was opened by the demon Scorpion Empress husband. Unfortunately, their family of 3 had disappeared. So Gu Qingshan decided to take a look at what was inside first. After all, the future is uncertain, so if there's something that can help me get out of my current predicament, only an idiot wouldn't use it. He searched around inside the bag and took out a coin. It was a dark blue coin. A giant octopus-like monster was carved on the front of the coin, grabbing over a dozen ships in the space vortex at the same time, using its cold, barbed tentacles. Just by holding this coin, Gu Qingshan's hand was already covered in a layer of frost. Alright, compared to this monster, the monster on the number 5 coin looks like a cute little animal. Gu Qingshan turned the dark blue coin around and looked at the number carved on the back. 109. This was the number 109 coin. No wonder everyone was so cautious when traveling through the void. After all, there were a total of 1001 coins. This was far beyond what Gu Qingshan knew. The devil summoner Wang Cheng worked hard for half his life only to save up a single chest of number 5 coins. Even after Gu Qingshan sold her information, the black market only rewarded her with a total of 1000 number 10 coins. This had already caused quite a few jealous professionists to follow her. Who would have thought that the black-cloaked man would have the number 109 coin on him? Gu Qingshan reached into the black bag and found that there were no more of the coins inside. In other words, the black-cloaked man only had one of these coins on him. As Gu Qingshan stared at the number 109 coin in her hand, lines of glowing text appeared on the war god Yua. Hashtag 109 coin. Using this coin, you can summon a personal fridge. Usage. Hold the coin in your hand and chant ice drink in your mind. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but frown a bit. It's quite surprising that coins can have other uses. Could it be that the coins with higher numbers would have more special functions? Gu Qingshan shook his head, feeling that his understanding of the strife zones was still too shallow. Wang Qing was only semi-illiterate. He didn't even know how to read, and he had too little knowledge. Even the devil summoning art was only at the beginner level. Wang Qing had been dealing with the number 5 coin his entire life, so let alone the number 109 coin in Gu Qingshan's hand. He probably hadn't even seen number 50 and above. Even though Gu Qingshan obtained his memories, there were many times when these memories made Gu Qingshan feel like an idiot. Like right now. Should I look for a cultured person to perform soul reading on them so that I can learn more about them? Gu Qingshan began to seriously consider the feasibility of this. While thinking about this, he silently muttered in his mind, "Ice drink pop." The giant octopus on top of the dark blue coin spat out a wooden box about the size of a person. Gu Qingshan hurriedly caught the box and carefully placed it on the ground. He opened the box to see that it was divided into several layers, each filled with a wide variety of alcoholic beverages. Gu Qingshan's mood instantly improved. After a bit of hesitation, he picked a few bottles and tried out their flavors. Very quickly, Gu Qingshan found that the first layer of the wooden box was around 10 to 16 degrees Celsius, containing some light-tasting fruit wines. The second layer was around 7 to 9 degrees Celsius, containing mostly soft drink. The third layer was the real deal, containing a lot of strong alcoholic beverages. TCH, so he's an expert at drinking. Unfortunately, he's an enemy, otherwise I'd be able to get to know him. Gu Qingshan satisfyingly put the fridge away, then carefully put the number 109 coin away with him. After doing all this, he looked at the black bag again. Other than the number 109 coin from before, there was also a small pile of coins inside the bag, all of which were number 10 coins. A bit of wealth. Gu Qingshan decided that if the demon Scorpion Empress shows up again, I'll split this pile of coins evenly with her. I'll definitely be fair when it comes to splitting the money. Of course, it's fine to take a bit of a loss. I'll let the other party take these number 10 coins first, I'll just take the rest. As for HM, there's no need to show her something as small as the fridge. Aside from these coins, there was nothing else inside the black bag. Not even the black-cloaked man's card book. This caused Gu Qingshan to feel a bit regretful. After tidying everything up, he turned towards the direction of the black market. At this point, the commotion in the sky slowly quieted down. The crashed airships would naturally be taken care of by the black market. Most of the people on the airships were professionists, so with their individual strength, it was almost impossible for them to die in such an accident. If it weren't for the sake of conserving stamina and avoiding the void monsters, they wouldn't even need to use airships to travel through the space vortex. Even if the terrifying wall of flesh had manifested in the sky. Even if the airships were crashing one after another. Even if there were riots and battles taking place everywhere. But the people on the airships didn't care about that at all. They were all heading towards the flight center, loudly asking for a refund. There were even a few people with powerful presences who sent their subordinates to express their concern. Gu Qingshan felt a bit emotional. The entire world had already been eaten by the desolate world-eater demon bug. But these people ignored it and only cared about asking for a refund from the black market. Is that bit of money really more important than their lives? Gu Qingshan shook his head. But when it comes to money indeed, void travel had always been the most expensive activity in the strife zones. And the magical airship that Gu Qingshan took cost him a total of 27 coins. A total of 27 coins. The number 10 coin. This amount of money was more than enough to cover Gu Qingshan's expenses in the black market for a few dozen days. With that in mind, Gu Qingshan couldn't help but fly towards the flight center. Halfway there, he had already turned into Wang Cheng's appearance. At another location, the guards of the Holy Church of Death and Holy Church of Fate had arrived at the center of the strife zones. They were here to pick up Suku Air and Anna. The two girls were saying their goodbyes. Which means, you're Su Share's younger sister? Anna asked. Suku Air stared closely at her and replied, "That's right, my sister said that you're not a good person and has always wanted to kill you, but she also said that you saved her life, so she couldn't do it, so she told you to find a chance to kill me?" Anna smiled and asked. "I originally wanted to kill you," Suku Air spoke with a complicated expression, "but in that situation just now when I called for help everyone else wanted to run away, only you risked your life to save me," Suku Air continued. "Regardless of what my sister is like, I, Suku Air, am not an ungrateful person." Anna was surprised. "If your sister wanted to cause trouble for me, why didn't she come herself?" "She's currently participating in a card user's trial and hasn't come out for a long time," Suku Air replied. Suku Air thought for a bit and continued, "Big sis Anna, do you know where Gu Qingshan is?" "What, why are you looking for him?" Anna cautiously asked. She looked at Suku Air. Suku Air's appearance is still different from her sister's. But their stature, Anna couldn't help but recall the time when she saved Su Share. Suku Air said, "I'm very curious what kind of person could make two excellent women like you hate each other so much. I want to see him." As Anna was about to say something, a member of the Holy Church of Death came up and gave her a black notebook. This was the Holy Church of Death's secret notebook. Normally only people with a certain level of status would be able to read it. Anna looked down. The most important things that happened in the Holy Church recently were clear to see. Her gaze flickered a bit as she casually gave the notebook back to the man. "I understand, they're all small matters, there's no need to bother me right now," Anna said. The man excused himself and left. Anna then turned around and told Suku Air, "I don't hate your sister at all." "You don't hate her? But she's your love rival." Suku Air was a bit confused. Anna softly replied, "Matters of the heart belong to us, she didn't destroy the beauty in my heart. Not to mention, your sister is a very pure person, she's just a bit stubborn, but in the end she's not a bad girl." Suku Air looked at Anna in shock and muttered, "You actually think of her like that?" Anna continued, "All right, I can tell you one last thing. Gu Qingshan is currently in a cultivation world. I don't know the coordinates of that place, but Zhang Youngho and Yi Feili know better, so you can return to your sister's original world to find them. But be careful, once you go to find Gu Qingshan, you won't be able to return to the strife zones for a while." Saying so, she turned around and left. Suku Air froze in place, watching as Anna casually left. Even after the Holy Church of Death's ship left, Suku Air still didn't move. "I don't care if I become a god or not, as long as I can find him," Suku Air muttered to herself. "But you said you don't hate Su Share. How is that possible?" She silently thought for a while, feeling that something wasn't right. After a while, she suddenly asked, "What was that black notebook that Anna read at the end?" The Holy Church's guards who had been standing behind her exchanged glances. One of the older guards reported, "That book looks like it's the Shrine of Death's Internal Affairs notification book. Can we get any information about it? We've always been collecting information about the other holy churches, as long as it's not too confidential, we'll be able to find out." "Very well, I want to see it now, sir. Please wait a moment." A few moments later, a white notebook was presented to her. Suku Air quickly read through it. Her eyebrows relaxed as she muttered in a low voice, "He's clearly wanted by your people, yet you still wanted to trick me into leaving the strife zones." Gray mist began to emanate from her body uncontrollably. Her unstoppable presence caused the Holy Church of Fate's ship to tremble. "What's going on?" A divine envoy noticed something was wrong and came out from the ship. "You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.